Good morning, this is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Pepper Master, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids and cubs, and welcome to season 5 and episode number 737 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. Always 100% Canadian. Today, recording day is Monday, September 15th, 2025, and it's back to school day for our MPs at the federal level. And it looks like it's going to be a nice day here at the Beaver Lodge, from what I can tell. It's looking like blue sky, but the sun hasn't completely made itself known yet. So I'm not sure exactly how the day is going to unfold. But right now, I think it has some good potential. I am your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver A, and not with me as usual is my good friend Mr. Grizzly, but we did get a little dose of him on Friday because we had so much content. We did go forward with a bonus beaver. Thank you to everyone who was able to join in later in the day to check it out and have some grizzly time. For those of you who weren't able to join, he sends his greetings, and of course he misses you very much. But new life, new lifestyle, all that kind of stuff demands on his time. But that way, I always make sure to try and make sure that I always make sure that we try and make sure. Interesting term phrase. I always make an effort to try to make sure that I can get some grizzly to you because, he's my brother from another mother, and I like doing this venture with him. So hopefully you had a chance to tune into that. Let's see. A big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Pepper Master, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and PsychicTarot.ca. How's your mental health doing today, kids and cubs? I have to say, mine is doing pretty well overall. Had a good weekend. Lots of stuff happened, and in I'll just start out right out. Start out. I'm tripping over my tongue today. I'll just start right out with it because I've been a bit of a tease on the weekend. If you check the socials, I said on, I believe it was Saturday, late Saturday evening, that I had just gotten the best news ever. And that news was, drum roll, please, that, well, it seems that somebody was not able to do the show ultimately. And since I was on the wait list, I did get the call. So I will, in fact, be in the local production of Guys and Dolls from the Kingston Meister Singers in November. So, those of you who thought of maybe coming to pay a visit to the Limestone City, that would be Kingston, in order to get some tickets and see me on stage, you will be able to do that sometime around the end of November because I'm in the show. Of course, it's ensemble. Uh, so maybe not even a speaking role, of course, but they will be singing, they will be dancing, and apparently, according to the director, us in the ensemble will be doing a lot on stage as well in different moments, and that we will have small moments here and there to shine. So, again, it's kind of weird in the sense that I was hoping originally for a bigger role, got left out, was a little bummed about it, and now it's ensemble, which I'm very happy because some role, of course, is better than no role. Although still a little sad in the sense that I still won't get a chance to show everything that I can do in terms of singing, dancing, and acting all together in a more prominent role, and given that responsibility and that task. But still, this is the music from Guys and Dolls is music that speaks to my heart and my soul, and the type of dancing is the type of dancing that I really do enjoy. So I'm going to choose to be well for choose. I didn't have to choose. I was overjoyed as soon as I got the call. It's like, are you kidding? Yes, I'm in. Sign me up. I'm doing this. Uh, but yes, it is a course again. So for those who will buy a ticket to come and see, don't expect me to see me up front. Don't expect to see me up front in central. As some of you have come to see me in certain plays, but I will be there and I will be smiling and beaming and performing and giving my very, very best. These are people I love to work with. So, ensemble or not, I'm happy. Just, you know, sometimes you just wish for a little more if you understand what I'm saying. And that didn't happen this time around. But then again, like you said, right? The original response was, "There's nothing," and now there's something. So I am indeed very happy because, expectations change, of course. When I was auditioning, I wanted more. When I didn't get anything, I was hoping for something. So I did get something. So I will be very happy. Also, in the good news department, for those of you who are familiar with him, Kit Pete from Australia, Kit Aussie Pete, who designed, if you like our logo for our show, he's the one that designed that. Gave me a call yesterday by video call and let me know that he had put a bid on a home and that he was accepted. So not everything is completely closed yet, but he will soon be a homeowner. So a big change in life there. And I'm so happy because I think around last year, around this time, or maybe a little earlier, I was talking about how things were going well for me personally, but things were going, pretty rough for people I cared about in my life, right? Mr. Grizzly was out of work. Mademoiselle Fox was having difficulty as well in terms of work. The contracts weren't coming in for a consulting company as quickly as they were before. And then there were other people in my life that were having tough times. Aussie Pete had money saved up for a down payment, but was feeling that he might have been priced out of market, was feeling a little bad because of that. And but he kept plugging away, and he did find something. So, and of course, things were going tough with my beaver sweetie because of the car accident and stuff. And well, here we are 1 year and 3 months later, and Mr. Grizzly has a job that's paying him what he's worth. Mademoiselle Fox is starting some new employment. Aussie Pete is now going to be a homeowner, and my beaver sweetie is doing much, much, much better, and had an opportunity to teach at his alma mater twice since then. Still has a spot in the lab and is now doing some teaching stuff at RMC. So all of a sudden, everything's coming up roses for everybody I care about, and things are still going slow and steady wins the race in a good direction for me. So I could not be happier because good things are happening to people I love and I care about. And I hope that good things are happening to you too, members of the DAMFAM, because of course I love and care about you. So, yay! I am happy to start the show reporting some very, very good news. Um, Also, in personal news, yesterday I got to play tennis against someone. Um, and how would I put it? I've always wanted to know what it would feel like to play tennis against someone who was, uh, professional quality. Let's put it that way. Um, I played a young lady named Neve, who is here on exchange from Ireland, and so I'm guessing that she's probably in her early 20s, and probably at Queen's University here on the exchange. Well, it turns out that when she was in Ireland, she was playing junior tennis at a very, very high level. Um, so I played against her, and holy crap, the serves come hard. Every single shot off her racket comes hard. I was literally scrambling. I couldn't believe the force and the power. It is relentless. It just never stops. I lost 8-3, and I'm going to pat myself on the back for the three, but I have to be completely honest. Uh, uh, it probably should have just been 8-1, really. Uh, because, she was serving these booming serves and, in the first 5 games wasn't necessarily landing them all of them in the box, so she had a couple of double faults, which helped me. Of course, I still had to score a couple of points, on those games to be able to get, to put them in my pocket. But, without the assistance of a few double faults, from her in the early in the earlier in those games, I probably would not have secured them. But and one of them I did earn on my serve. That one was mine. That one is mine. I will be very proud of it. I will take that. But I had got it was 8-3. It ended up being a very respectable score considering how damn good she is, and it will probably be the only time I will ever get to three against her in ever in my life if I get to play because once that serve starts landing in the box more regularly and she's a little less rusty, that thing is dangerous. That's all I will say. It was one of the, I had one absolutely fabulous shot that just zipped and, seriously, all I did was literally lift my racket up and just sort of slightly move it forward, didn't even put much energy, and it was basically the entire pace of her ball that hit off my racket and just maintained and went back zip, and she was not able to get to it, and I felt really proud of myself, but really, all I did was just lift up my racket, let the ball bounce off it. She basically did all the work. But the shot looked amazing. Oh god. So yeah, uh, I finally experienced what it feels like to have these total bombs come at you just left, right, and center. I think I hit a ball. Sometimes you watch tennis and people are like standing way, way back from the baseline. And you're thinking like, how do you get a ball to the? You have to add all that extra distance. I had to do that yesterday for the first time in my life playing against her. Hit that far back from the baseline. I couldn't believe the power of my hand. I had my hands full. I will tell you that. But oh my god, it was fun. It was fun. I always wanted to experience it, and I thought I would hate it because I would essentially be target practice, and I was. Just there's no joke. I was target practice. But my returner serve was actually pretty good at something coming that hard, and we got a couple of good rallies in. I was overwhelmed, and it was very clear she was going to win. It was never in doubt. But I'm, you know, I'm gonna give myself a little pat on the back. I did way better than I thought I would in such a circumstance. And like I said, even got a couple of good rallies in which, of course, most of them she did eventually win because she could move me out of place. But yeah, uh, it's playing at that against someone at that level when they have a good attitude, and they don't mind playing someone that's not at that level as well, is, I have to say, a lot of fun, a big challenge, and extremely humbling, but a lot fun. So I do hope I have a chance to play her a couple of times before the season's over and her exchange ends. But oh my, and she was junior tennis, so I can only imagine once you get to even the higher level what those serves must be like when they're coming at you. But I was ducking bombs. All right, let's take a little look into the magic monitor and see what we've got here. We have Kit Uncover the News saying morning. We have Kit Elaine saying good morning, everyone. Kit Wishful is here with us as well, saying good morning. And thank you so much for joining us. And yes, we are at, we've crossed the 23,000 on our subscribers on our YouTube page, 23,300 and 675,000 views so far. So closing in on that million. We have Kit Saucy with us. We have Kit Grace saying good morning, all. Well, let's see who else we have. Oh, Kit Saucy's being spicy early this morning. Good stuff. In the chat, we have Kit Nona Carol wishing good morning to everyone and good morning to you. Let's see who else we have. Kit Moan here saying hello to the DAMFAM and good morning to all of your family as well. Kid Buggy saying good morning all as well. And good morning to you, sir. We have Kit playing with 3D here with us this morning. Good morning to you. Thank you for joining us. Kit Linda M, the original and the best, saying good morning as well to everyone. We have Kit Sharon with us saying good morning, DAMFAM. Hope everybody had a fabulous weekend. And we have Kit PNC Bio with us this morning. Kit Jenny is back today saying good morning, everyone, and good morning to you. And here we go. We have Kit Jenny and Kit Jen. Hello, dear one. Good morning, darling, she says, and good morning to you, darling, as well. So glad you're with us. Kit Argosi Acres is with us. Uh, people enjoying the choice of the show. Return of the Hack as a title. I got a 100 on that. And it is Return of the Hack. Unfortunately, Kits and Cubs, trigger warning, I'm going to have to tell you we're going to hear Pierre's voice today. Just so you know. We have Kit Swanky Frankie saying good morning. Hope your tooth is doing better and that you are healing well, my friend. Who else do we have? I think that might be everyone. Is there anybody else that slid across the plate at the last minute for hello? Miss Shadika is here. Good morning to you. Looking through. Wow, you are chatty already this morning, Kits and Cubs, and that's a good thing. I love it. It's going to give me some fun things to read once the show is over. I think that is pretty much everyone, unless I see another name here pop up. I am just going to get into the show, and you might get a belated greeting if I see another name pop up. All right, Kits and Cubs. Well, a lot has happened over the course of the weekend. As I mentioned, Parliament is now resuming. Uh, we have Kit Sean here that just popped in and said ducking balls was my brand name in college. Cheeky. I like it. Okay. And we have a new one, Kit Adrian here in the chat. That's a new name for us. So good morning to you. Welcome to the Beaver Lodge. Pull up a log, stay a while, make yourself comfortable. Hope that you like it here. Okay. And PP about to wreck shop in that bitch. Not sure if that's a pro PP comment or an anti PP comment because wrecking shop could be a good or bad thing depending something that you want or something that you don't want depending on what side of the aisle you sit. So I guess we'll find out more about Kit Adrian through the chat over the course of the show. All right, Kits and Cubs. As you know, Parliament is set to resume today. First question period will be at around 2 p.m. It looks like so far Pierre Poilièvre and Mark Carney will both be in the House, so they will have their first face-off as a newly minted Prime Minister and recycled leader of the Conservative Party of Canada, recycled leader of the opposition, I should say, probably more than recycled leader of the party, because that part never stopped. Pierre is being a jerk again, for all intents and purposes. Last week, there was a clip of him giving one of his famous press conferences where once again he tried to get into it with a journalist, not as much as he was before, but suggesting that he couldn't necessarily take everything that the journalist was saying at face value and being his usually smarmy little self. But this time it was a male journalist rather than a female journalist, as he typically does. So I guess that's a change if he's saying that he's evolved and changed, I guess. But well, he granted he finally found CBC useful. This thing that he wanted to defund that he said was terrible, but then when he lost the election, then all of a sudden started sending his MPs to again, because apparently, I guess now that we have, well, for a little less than 4 years to go, is assuming that the government completes a full mandate. Well, the most important thing to Pierre is, of course, clicks and visibility and getting the message out. So, where there was a ban on the CBC when he was campaigning hard on, cutting it and gutting it and defunding it and selling all the buildings and turning them into housing, allegedly, something we know he never would have done because he doesn't believe in costly social programs, remember? Mhm. Now all of a sudden, he's found use for the CBC. All of a sudden, he wants his MPs going on there spreading their misinformation and disinformation. And he himself decided to join the party by granting an interview to CBC The House. I'm also noticing something in the chat here about some Charlie Kirk stuff there, where apparently Selma Blair and Kristen Chenoweth wrote tributes. I would um, I'd put a damper on believing that's necessarily true because Press Progress reported on the weekend that actor Billy D. Williams, Lando Calrissian from the Star Wars series, his Twitter account was also tweeting a whole bunch of stuff in support of Charlie Kirk. So was Mick Jagger's account. There's a tweet here that says from Mick Jagger that says, "Charlie Kirk news got me sick. Jesus is coming soon." It seems that a whole bunch of celebrities Twitter accounts and social media accounts may have been hacked because Mr. Williams reported this to Facebook. It took 3 days for them to fix the problem, and yes, it would see here. In a statement to Press Progress on Saturday afternoon, Billy D. Williams' management team confirmed that the Star Wars actor's Facebook page had been compromised and that they were having difficulty regaining control. So I would not necessarily take to the bank that Selma Blair and Christian Chenoweth were actually themselves tweeting in support of Charlie Kirk and neither Mick Jagger. It seems that this was uh, a deliberate strategy to make it look like he had more um, more support from the celebrity sector than he actually did. Yeah. Unfortunately, in this type of activity, according to Press Progress, it would seem that uh, there was a lot of right-wing influencers and convoy personalities in Canada seen sharing or interacting with Williams's fake posts before they were taken down, including a senior advisor to conservative leader Pierre Poilièvre. So the reason I'm mentioning this at this particular time is because this interview is going to touch that he did with the House is going to touch a little bit on this as well, and he says a couple of things that people are going to wonder, given now that we know that, like I said, a senior advisor to him was interacting with content of this kind, and given that Andrew Scheer essentially put a target on journalist Rachel Gilmore's back with some tweets of his. So keep these two pieces of information in mind when we get to the point of the interview where Pierre is going to be asked about the Charlie Kirk incident. Now, for this, I have no visual. It's strictly audio. There were 4 segments to this interview with Pierre Poilièvre, and I know that hearing his voice is very irritating to people. It is to me too. On the show, I say often, I do it so you don't have to, but every now and then I do have to present some of the things that he has said in order to be able to give you a better text. And this is going to be uh, here, mainly because it's probably one of his first more fuller length interviews granted to the CBC, probably since he became party leader. So it is significant in that sense, but also because we are returning to new parliament with a new prime minister and given the incidents in the United States, there's a lot of Canadians that would hope that we would be returning with a slight adjustment in tone, particularly from one side of the aisle. And it looks like that is probably uh, not in the cards, unfortunately, because this man learns nothing. He just learns nothing. He is incapable of pivoting. He's incapable of change. So I am sorry that I'm going to have to expose you to this. Um, um, I feel like Mary Poppins, it's like, but you need to take your medicine. Unfortunately, I don't have a spoonful of sugar. There's not enough sugar in the world to make anything that Pierre says go down well. I have to be honest. So we're going to start with the first bit. Um, Catherine Cullen. I've seen her get a lot of criticism because maybe not enough pushback. Um, sh- I listened to it. She did push back on certain occasions, tried to reframe, but it seems like she had 12 minutes and 4 topics that she wanted to get through and decided to go, yeah, she needed to get through these topics. And this is something that I hate about this type of journalism, where, the quick spot interview is even worse because the person just, says their piece regardless of what the journalist is asking, whatnot, and then tries to get that on the clip. When you got 12 to 13 minutes, you do have a little more time, but if there are 4 subjects you want to get through, then there's 3 minutes per subject, and the person knows that. Well, then they can just, like, run out the clock by speaking, and there's only so much you can challenge if you want to get all 4 topics in. I personally believe that you start an interview with a plan, but if somebody's not answering your first question, you stick to it, and don't just say, "Well, you won't answer my question, so I'll just move on to another subject." Or, like, there's okay, we're at the end of the 3 minutes for this subject, and in the last 30 seconds, you just dropped 3 lies, and I'm just going to overlook them so I can get to the next subject because I, as a journalist, have my 4 subjects that I want to touch on, and I have to get them done. I would be, if I were a journalist, I would be the type of journalist that says, "Well, I came in here with 4 subjects, but since you won't give a clear answer to the first one, I guess we're going to stay stuck on that first one until we get a clear answer." That would be more my style. It might make it so that I would have difficulty getting repeat interviews with someone. But that would be more my style because I think that the audience would learn more by someone being asked the same question in different ways or being pressed for 12 minutes on something that they are lying constantly about or don't want to give an answer to, rather than just moving on. Um, I think we would learn a whole lot more because you can deflect for about 2 or 3. But after 12 or 13, it starts to become a little uncomfortable and repetitive, and you might have to add extra things uh, to fill the void. And those extra things that you would add to fill the void or to make it seem like you are saying more could be where a lot of those gems that you're looking for actually reside. It's my theory. I haven't seen it in practice all that much, unfortunately, but it's my theory. And I really wish that journalists might do that every now and then. Just keep on asking the question until they get an actual real answer. But that's not to be for this one. In this part of the interview, we are talking about Pierre's recent criticism of Mark Carney, that he's essentially done nothing. We saw the big announcement Friday before last on the whole industrial reset, and then last Friday, there was this past Friday, the big announcement on the major projects office and the first lists of projects, and that had Pierre. Pierre's response was that it was pathetic, and Melissa Landsman followed and said, "It's just a list." And that's what they do. They reduce. You know, that's the Poilièvre playbook. He did it with pharmacare. He did it with dental care. When the law was passed, he said, "Well, you know, it's just a law. Has anybody had their teeth fixed?" And then they announced the program, and has anybody got their teeth fixed? And then the program, started, and then he said, "Has anybody got their teeth fixed?" Until one person actually did get their teeth fixed, and then he had to abandon that. That's the Pierre Poilievre book, right? It's Pierre Mark Carney has done nothing. Oh, the office is set up. Oh, he set up a new bureaucracy. Here's the list of first projects. It's just a list. There are no shovels in the ground. Right? There are shovels in the ground. Oh, well, the thing isn't built yet. The thing is built. Well, it's not producing anything yet. It's produced something. Oh, well, we're selling, the goalpost keeps moving, but everything is always diminishing the accomplishment. And that's the conservative playbook here. They just can't acknowledge that things are getting done, that there are processes, certain things take time, there are steps, that there's such thing as preparatory work. They seem to believe that you can say, we will build a pipeline, and within 4 months, instant pipeline. Like, all you have to say is, we have decided that we will build a pipeline and that there will be shovels in the ground the next day, which is absolutely completely unreasonable and illogical, of course. But he's treating Canadians, as he usually does, like we're stupid, and insulting our intelligence, and expecting the most of us to believe that we live in a world where we also believe that all you have to say is, we want a pipeline, and the next day there's shovels in the ground, which is that's not the way things work in Canada, right? It's not the way things work in a democracy. In China, you can say that and have shovels in the ground the next day, which would be really ironic considering all the stuff that the conservatives said about Trudeau with regard to when Trudeau made the acknowledgement that said, you know what, e- essentially, if we lived in an autocracy like China on stuff green, I could say, I want this green stuff today, like this, and like tomorrow there would be shovels in the ground making it happen. In that sense, he kind of envied China in that sense that, you could say you want something green and have it. But other than that, Pierre took that and said, "Oh my God, he wants us to be China. He loves the dictatorship." No, he likes the fact, that for things that he really cares about, that, if that was the situation, he could say it and it would get done. I mean, every environmentalist would say, if it could, somebody could just say, we need to do this, and the next day it would start being done. My God, imagine how far we would be, right? So the twisting, the torquing, the deliberate, mis misframing, misrephrasing in order to make the other person look absolute terrible. That's what Pierre does best. So there's a lot of this in this answer, and you will see that it doesn't take Pierre long at all to show in this interview that there is going to be no change in tone whatsoever. And which is really surprising to me in one way, because considering the events of the last week, you would think he might go into this interview um, pumping his brakes a little. But no, that's not Pierre. That's not Pierre's style. It's not what he's about. It's not what's in his DNA. So we get what we get. All right, kits and cubs, let's take a listen and get this little party started here. All right, just got to find the button. There it is. Oops, hold on. I'm not sure that you can actually hear that. Um, Kits and cubs, do let me know if you hear what is coming out, because this is only the second time I am doing sound with image, and I just want to be sure uh, that I am doing it the right way here and that everybody hears. The clip is going to start off with a clip of Danielle Smith giving her reaction to what Mark Carney's moves were with the projects list, and then get into Catherine Cullen asking the question to Pierre. And of course, there's a contrast here, right? Because when we reported on Friday that Danielle Smith seemed to be rather pleased with what was announced, and Pierre has the complete opposite to take.
Her new book sheds light on the threats and abuse she faced in politics, but she is still encouraging others to run. Why she says it's worth the price. But we begin with Pierre Poilièvre and Canada's new list of national projects. The House is now in session.
When I looked at the first 5 projects, I thought finally they get it, because it's all the projects that have been difficult to build. It's mining projects, it's LNG Canada, and I think that demonstrates a real shift in the focus of this government. And I would just ask people to be patient. I mean, we went from having chased away $500 billion worth of investment over the last 10 years. You can't turn that around immediately.
That is Alberta's Conservative Premier, Danielle Smith, very happy with the federal government's new national interest project list, saying she believes she's on the path to seeing a new pipeline built. But not everyone is impressed. Federal Conservative leader Pierre Poilièvre has dismissed the list as basically Mark Carney sending an email. On Friday, Poilièvre joined me in the CBC studio in Ottawa to talk about that and a host of other issues before the House of Commons returns on Monday. Hi, Mr. Poilièvre. Welcome back to the House.
Good to be with you.
You heard Danielle Smith there. She's saying, be patient. Albertans are finally being heard by the federal government. You're an Alberta MP now. She's your premier. Are you going to take her advice?
Well, we have no choice. We've had to be very patient with Mark Carney because he's now been Prime Minister for 6 months. Hard to believe. And he hasn't delivered a permit for a single nation-building project. In fact, construction is down. Investment is down by $62 billion under Mark Carney, which is the biggest net outflow of investment in history, according to the National Bank. And so far, he's succeeded at setting up an office with 1 employee, and he sent a list of 5 projects that were already approved or almost approved before he got there. And now he's picking up the football in the end zone to spike it. But in reality, some of the projects that he put on his list have already been under construction. It's really incredible to see a prime minister show up and take credit for something that happened before he even got there and then claim that it is a new achievement. But I think we're going to see a lot of that. I think he's been very good at confusing activity with achievement. Lots of meetings, lots of politicians patting themselves on the backs.
So is Danielle Smith confused then?
So
is that what you're saying?
If you look at the actual results, there have been none. As for a pipeline, to the Pacific, we already had one. It was called the Northern Gateway. Justin Trudeau killed it.
Well, the courts said that there was not sufficient consultation.
With respect, the project was approved, and the Trudeau cabinet killed it. They vetoed it. That is a fact. And so that was a multi-billion-dollar project that would have been completed 7 or 8 years ago. Mr. Carney testified against that project. So this might be another...
When you're saying testified at parliamentary committee.
He did. He testified at a parliamentary committee against a pipeline from Hardisty, Alberta to Kitimat, BC, which is exactly the project with some very minor modifications that Ms. Smith is pushing for now. So we're hoping that Mr. Carney has flip-flopped on this, and he'll go ahead with it. But what I would really say on this is that when it comes to these projects, we have 38 projects the federal government has been holding up that are in the impact assessment system already.
In progress right now.
They only need to get a permit to go ahead. They don't need a government grant, a government handout, a press release, a photo op. They really need one thing from Mark Carney: get out of the way and permit so that private money can build private projects that actually make money for our country rather than cost the taxpayer.
I still do not understand, though, why you are saying he's in the way, nothing to see here. The office, you're dismissing it as one employee. That's the CEO. I don't know how many other people have or haven't been hired. But you have Danielle Smith, Tim Houston, Wab Kinew, the business community themselves saying, this is important. Danielle Smith saying, be patient. How is it that you're saying nothing to see here when so many other people seem to think, across the political spectrum, seem to think that this is meaningful?
Again, I think she's right. We have to be patient because of Mark Carney's snail's pace.
But that's not what she's saying.
What I'm saying is that Mark Carney has been prime minister for 6 months. Now, he promised that we would move at unprecedented speeds, that this was like wartime. 6 months has gone by. Let me give you an example. The Germans built an import terminal for LNG from concept to completion in 194 days. That is not the permit or the announcement or the press release. That means the thing was functional in about the amount of time Mark Carney has been prime minister, during which time he has not approved a single major project. What he has done is taken 5 projects that were basically approved already, sent them to yet another bureaucracy, which is going to review them and consider them going ahead. And there is not an oil pipeline on that list. I don't want to be negative, so I'm going to be positive here. We're proposing the Canadian Sovereignty Act, which would get the government out of the way so that we could rapidly build, the private industry without taxpayer subsidies could build pipelines, mines, LNG terminals, nuclear plants, and more. It would expedite the 38 projects that have been waiting for federal approval, and it would invite the hundreds more that the federal government is blocking, according to Scott Moe. So let's pass the sovereignty. I'm offering Mark Carney to take the act and pass it. I'll give him credit for it.
Again,
we'll
Scott Moe
get it done.
said there were 100 projects that were priorities. He did not say the federal government was blocking them. But I want to talk to you about a related issue here.
All right. So we'll stop it there because now, like I said, she tried to end with a course correction there. Correction. Sorry. Let's try that again. I'm disappearing all over the place. Tried to correct by correcting Pierre Poilièvre, but then, segues into her next subject rather than staying there on that. So you can see that is the first few minutes of it, and already he is being a royal dick in that response. There's a lot going on. He says Mark Carney has been prime minister for 6 months. Hard to believe. I'm guessing he says he finds it hard to believe because he thought he was going to win. But yes, on the 14th of September, it had been exactly 6 months since Prime Minister Mark Carney had been sworn in. Of course, what Pierre forgets to mention is that for the entire session of Parliament that existed after Mark Carney was sworn in until an election was called, Pierre was nowhere to be seen in the House of Commons. And that's not true. Sorry, that's wrong. Damien Carrick was nowhere to be seen in the House of Commons. He basically stood up, gave his concession speech, and then started campaigning for Pierre and Battle River Crowfoot at that moment, thus not being present for some of these most important votes. So Pierre did not think it was important enough to have everybody there to vote on these things, on C5 and all of those things. That was the first thing. Then, of course, we went into an election. So we had government in a caretaker mode. So there was so very little that the prime minister could do at that point. And then, of course, the House hasn't returned to sitting until today. So it's kind of hard to pass legislation. Right? So Pierre Poilièvre trying to pretend that it was 6 months of prime ministership in a business as usual kind of state in which things could have maybe been advanced a little faster. But still in 6 months, there still would not have been a project that would have gone from proposal to shovels in the ground. He, in his reductive sense, talks about the major office project that only has one employee. Of course, the leader, Don Farrell, of course, who will be hiring other people and has a list. So it's another bureaucracy that has one employee and all they got is a list. That's how he qualifies all the work that has happened. The passage of C5, the consultation with Indigenous communities, all the consultation with industry, the job search for the person who's going to lead it, all the work with the premiers, with indigenous leaders, with members of the broader business community in terms of bringing those lists of projects, the triage of those projects into 5 that are ready to go now, and 9 more that may be considered for the future, while creating the evergreen open list of other projects. All of the diplomatic work with the various premiers, including Danielle Smith, which I'm sure was not easy. But all of this is nothing. All of this doesn't matter. All of this is not work. All of this is just, you know, um, as he says, activity, uh, rather than something concrete. Of course, all of these things are definitely concrete, right? It's preparatory work to get the stuff down, and preparatory work is work and it needs to be done. But Pierre seems to think that Canadians live in a world where you don't have to prepare anything. You know, we all live on Star Trek where we just say what it is that we want and then it magically, generates itself, which is not the case. She's asked, he is asked by Catherine Cullen, is Danielle Smith confused? Then, of course, Pierre just talks over her, doesn't even entertain the question, doesn't even entertain the fact that he's saying something that is opposite from Danielle Smith. Says, well, we have no choice but to take her word for it. We have to be patient. It's been 6 full months and we don't have something in the ground yet. Oh my God. Right? Like, he started off as a smarmy jerk. Then he goes into Northern Gateway with his lie again, that the thing that stopped it was Justin Trudeau killing it. Whereas, of course, if we go to someone that we really respect here, Mr. Max Fawcett, he makes it very clear that it was thrown out by the courts due to inadequate consultation of Indigenous communities during the time Stephen Harper was Prime Minister. They didn't want to follow the law to build the pipeline, so the pipeline did not get built. There was no guarantee whatsoever that said consultation would or could have been redone to the court's satisfaction. And remember, unceded territory in BC is a different legal animal. Energy, so, that happened with Northern Gateway. Pierre just says, Justin Trudeau canceled it. Yes, there was a decision from the federal government at one point that they were not going to go ahead with it, but there was a lot of stuff that happened before that made it seem that, this project is just not going to happen. We need to cut bait on it. Pierre strategically edits those parts out of his answer. Which just goes to show what a disingenuous person he is. Somewhere in there, he just says, I don't want to be negative. I want to be positive, when all he had been up until that point is negative, I guess. And his way of being positive is saying like this, well, we have this Canadian Sovereignty Act gimmick that he proposed, which is basically plagiarizing, all the ideas that he had run on before, putting them together and then slapping a label on it that he stole, lifted from Danielle Smith, the Alberta Sovereignty Act, Canada Sovereignty Act. And basically, he's saying, at the same time as he's complaining that Carney has stole all his policies, but Canada's still shit, which should say something about his policies, he has yet another policy that he invites Mark Carney to steal and say, I'll even let him take credit for it. And this policy is essentially, for all intents and purposes, redoing the work of C5. That work has already been done. So while Pierre is claiming that nothing's happening fast enough, he would like us to stop everything at the moment that we've done so far and replace the current law, C5, with his law. And once again, saying things, we're prepared to work with anybody who will put in place the conservative policies rather than the ones that the Canadian people just voted for. He's not going to find any willing partners to do that. And plus, it's not his place to do that, or to even ask that or expect that. So clearly, an unserious answer from an unserious person, claiming that things aren't going fast enough, but planning a solution, proposing a solution that would delay things even more. Is a solution that would negate that for which Canadians voted a little more than 6 months ago, saying the opposite thing that Danielle Smith is saying, because he needs to win his party leadership review. So this whole intervention is for the base. It's not for the benefit of Canadians. But not being brave enough to slag Mark Carney left, right, and center, but not brave enough to say Danielle Smith got it wrong. However, that's Pierre. Those are the fights he picks. So clearly not a serious answer. And there was that much bullshit in about literally 2 minutes. No, maybe a little more. 2 minutes and 48 seconds. He packed a lot of bullshit in there. He is now asked about climate change. And again, spewing a lot of BS and trying to pretend in some ways that he is pro-response to climate change. But as you will hear in the answer, not really wanting to assume it. And in this case, not really wanting credit for being it as well. Answer. It's pretty interesting.
Emissions. I've been covering you for years. I cannot recall hearing you talk about concerns around climate change. Do you worry about what climate change will do to our planet, Pierre Poilièvre?
Sure, and that's why I'm so disappointed with the very problematic approach of the Liberal government, which has been to drive up energy costs and block projects from going ahead that would help the environment.
So are you an environmentalist, Pierre Poilièvre?
Sure, you can call me whatever you like.
No, I want to know what you'd call yourself. We are talking about like sea levels rising, worried about loss of biodiversity. You worry about those things.
Sure, and I also have solutions. Like if we were to displace dirty Asian coal-fired plants with clean Canadian natural gas, according to the National Bank, we could reduce global emissions by 2.5 billion tons, which is 3 times the emissions of all of Canada for a year. But to do that, you need liquefaction terminals like the one that Prime Minister Harper approved, LNG Canada. And we shouldn't be talking about having one more. We should be talking about having 18 or 19 LNG liquefaction plants. That's the number that were proposed when the Liberals took office. And so what I propose, let's take our natural gas, which is very clean, which is very cheap in Canada. Right now, we only get $3 per million metric British thermal units, and let's sell it to Asia for $14. We could help power the most populous continent by getting them off of dirtier coal and reducing global emissions. But the real difference between myself and the Liberals on this is they believe in keeping it in the ground. Those are Mr. Carney's words, by the way. He wrote them. We can debate whether he's flip-flopped on that as well, or the conservative approach, which is let's use our energy to grow the paychecks of our people and protect the environment. They believe in energy poverty. I believe in energy abundance, and that is the approach that we would take to the environment.
You say you're worried about climate change. Mm-hmm. Why have we not seen you ever commit to emissions reductions targets?
I just did right now.
That's not a target. That's saying we should do more to reduce our emissions. That's not about meeting the Paris targets. That's not saying our 2030 targets are right, wrong, should be higher, lower.
The current government is not meeting its emissions targets.
But I'm asking whether you think those are valuable targets, not about what the federal government is doing, which you've been clear about.
It would be very easy. In fact, it would be very easy to meet all of those targets if we include the global reductions that the export of Canadian nuclear and natural gas would engender. And so I'd say, sure, not only could we could displace the equivalent of 3 years of emissions in Canada by sending our Canadian natural gas over to Asia and displacing dirty coal. I mean, you know, the Asian economies are adding these coal-fired plants one after the other because they don't have access to affordable natural gas. We have the most affordable gas. It's easy for us to liquefy it because our cold climate does most of the work. And we have the shortest shipping distances to both Asia and Europe of any country in the Americas. So Why would we not use that kind of pragmatic approach that enriches rather than impoverishes us?
I want to turn to another one of your policy proposals here because our
Sure.
time is finite. You have called on
Okay, so there we go. Moving on to the next subject again, rather than continuing on that. Lots of bullshit in that one. Um, so you can see that, she was asking, so we can call you an environmentalist? Sure, you can call me whatever you like. No, no. What would you call yourself, Pierre? Because I'm sure you would mind that other journalists try to pump up environmental bona fides for you, but you're not there like this. And, later on, it's asked, why won't you make commitments to emissions reductions? And he says, I just did. No, he didn't make a commitment. He said that emissions could be reduced this, if other nations would make a decision to buy liquefied natural gas from us that might be less polluting than the energy sources that they are already using. That's not him committing to emission reductions targets. That's him saying buy more of our oil and gas. So we don't have to change anything, right? He goes, I have solutions, and his solution is that other countries make the decision to buy our oil and gas. And then says we could reach our targets if we if we produced and sold them that gas. Because when we all know that the fact that we produce it doesn't mean that they are going to buy it. Number one, the fact that we produce certain products that are less polluting than oil or less polluting than coal doesn't mean and doesn't absolve us of our responsibility to be able to extract those resources in a manner that is more green, or decide not longer to extract those resources so that we could be more green. Yes. And he doesn't acknowledge that the fact that we produce it and make it, this does not give us credit. We get credit when we reduce the carbon intensity of what we produce and sell. Yes. But if China or India or any other country decides, you know what, we're going to shut this coal fire plant and we're going to replace that energy with liquefied natural gas from Canada, we don't get the credit for that reduction because it is the country that decides to get off coal and to make the decision to spend its financial resources on a less polluting technology and does so and implements it that gets the credit. So he's basically saying, hey, everybody who's buying coal, who's using coal right now, stop coal. You make all the changes in your country, buy our liquefied natural gas, and thank you. We will take credit for having reduced the emissions. It's not our credit. It's the credit of the nation that decided to switch off. They get the credit. They made the decision. They spent the money. They made the change. All we did is keep on doing what we keep on doing and decided to sell it to one more market. We don't get credit for that. So this is a terrible exercise in gaslighting. And he wants to believe, he's trying to sell us on the fact that we don't have to change anything whatsoever to what we're doing, just have more people buy our stuff. And yes, it does have a GHG reducing factor if a nation that was using coal decides to use Canadian LNG instead. Yes, it will have a reduction. But why would we get credit for that? We didn't make the decision for the change. So he's pretending here that the world functions in a way, and all these international agreements, all this international law with regards to this behaves in a completely different way than it actually does. It's literally bullshit. And again, in this answer, when she keeps on asking about, but what about you? What would you do? The current government, the current government, the current government. Stop talking to us about what you think of the current government. Talk to us about what you plan. He has no plan. He has no plan. His plan is for us to keep on doing what it is that we are doing and have a better marketing push to try and convince other nations to buy our stuff without doing anything at this end to reduce the emissions or the carbon intensity of what we're doing here. We don't have to change a thing. We can keep on doing exactly what we were doing, just let other countries do the work and we'll take the credit for it. That's his environmental policy. It's dumb. It's just dumb. And he's clearly treating us all like he thinks that we are stupid. He is literally, during this interview, telling us to our faces, hey, I think you're stupid. And how stupid I think you are? Here, try this one on for size. Other people, other nations doing the hard work of changing the way that they provide energy for their activities. But we get the credit. It doesn't work that way. It's never worked that way. It was never intended to work that way. There, what he's saying is like if there was somebody in the country running around saying one person, two votes. Nobody ever says that because it's not a thing. What he's saying in this answer is not a thing. It's this alternate la la land reality in which he chooses to live because this is a choice, but it's not a reality that exists. Nobody can see it, nobody can touch it, nobody can observe it. This reality exists only in his mind. That we would get credit for that type of choice. Just there is a business case, there is an environmental case to be made. Right? Replace dirtier energy production with energy production that is somewhat cleaner. Not as clean as it can be, but cleaner. Yes, and hopefully down the road you'll replace the LNG with something that's even cleaner than that. Okay, we can look at that as a transition step to going green to get some benefit now. Yes, but we do not get the credit unless we take our own LNG and replace something that we're doing here that is more polluting with it. Then we get the credit. But if other nations do it, they get the credit because they made the decision. We don't get credit for being a seller. We get credit when we change our usage or when we reduce our emissions intensity. We don't get credit for selling. Now, financially, if we build more LNG capacity, if we build SMR for nuclear, right, technology, and we have intellectual property and patents and stuff like that, we could, yes, economically, you can make a case for it that it's a good benefit. But just as is the case, if we develop some SMR technology and sell it to Germany, and they use it and they reduce their emissions, they get the credit. We get a lot of economic benefit, absolutely, but we get no environmental credit, and you have to separate the two. There are certain things that we can do to help other nations reduce their carbon footprint that will be economically advantageous for us, but it does not give us credit in the environmental ledger. That credit goes to the country that makes the decision to make the change and puts the work in switching and puts the work into changing their budget to buy from one place rather than another. It doesn't go to the seller. It goes to the purchaser. All right. Okay. The next part of this interview deals with the issue of temporary foreign workers, where Pierre, as we have noted already during the show, this is his latest wedge to try to divide Canadians, to try to turn younger Canadians against immigration and immigrants and new Canadians and try to create more division. But let's see what he has to say on this, see if there's been any evolution in his position or anything more substantive than what he said before. Whoops. sorry, I forgot to sound. So let's do that. The question is going to be slightly cut off, unfortunately, Kits and Cubs, as a result of that, because the first 2 seconds of the question is playing to try and turn this thing back because it's a little sensitive. So we're moving on to the subject of temporary foreign workers here.
Temporary foreign worker program. The Prime Minister has said he will adjust the program to make it more strategic. Why do you believe that there is never a need for these workers outside of the agricultural sector?
Because we have unemployed Canadians. Since Mr. Carney took office, we've hemorrhaged 86,000 jobs. Really hard to believe.
Surely some of that is related to U.S. tariffs and the uncertainty.
The tariffs that Mr. Carney promised he would manage to get rid of through his promise to negotiate a win by July 21st. And it's also, according to the Business Council, the red tape of the federal government is responsible for more economic damage than even the tariffs. That's what the business community says. But it's true that in fairness, Mr. Carney has failed to keep his promise on negotiating a deal, and that has obviously hurt our economy.
He said he would only sign a deal if it was good for Canada. He did not promise a deal under no conditions.
He promised to, quote, negotiate a win. He promised to have a deal by July 21st. Those are broken promises. Now, you asked me about temporary foreign workers, and but I had to respond to your interjection. And so on temporary foreign workers, we've got 350,000 people in Toronto alone who are unemployed. We have the worst job numbers since the 1990s for our youth. And when you have 14% unemployment for youth, it is appalling that we're bringing in low-wage temporary foreign workers who are exploited again and again, exploited by those seeking to profit off of paying below market wages. And the Liberal government is on track this year to having the largest number of temporary foreign workers in Canadian history. What I'm saying is we should do is...
There are a multitude of factors affecting the job market. AI, tariffs, some of the numbers of temporary foreign workers you've talked about more broadly are renewals of people who have been here for some time. Do you worry about telling Canadians that these job losses, tying it directly to temporary foreign workers, that people will perceive that as blaming temporary foreign workers?
No, because I haven't blamed temporary foreign workers. I've said precisely the opposite. They are great people. They're not to blame. The Liberal government is to blame. It's the Liberals that are bringing people. The temporary foreign workers are just seeing a job opportunity and getting a work permit. They're just doing what the Liberal government told them to do. But I think it's appalling that when I go to towns across this country, parents tell me their kids cannot get jobs to start off and start saving for school because, in part, the 100,000 plus temporary foreign workers that employers prefer to have in some cases because they can pay them less. And my answer is let's
work shifts other people won't.
Let's raise wages. And what I say to everybody is raise wages. Let's pay more. If you want to attract Canadian kids, pay great Canadian wages. A stronger take-home pay is one of my big priorities for this fall session. And that means ensuring that even though there aren't a lot of jobs in Canada right now, they should go to Canadians first.
I would like to switch gears here and talk about a developing news story, which is the assassination of U.S. conservative activist Charlie Kirk.
All right. So, again, not a serious answer in any way, shape, or form from the recycled leader of the opposition here on temporary foreign workers. You will notice that he refuses to acknowledge any of the situations that would account for the fact that employment is being affected in Canada. Will not acknowledge that the tariffs came from the United States, but as soon as the mention of tariffs comes along, he mentions that, well, yeah, these are tariffs that we shouldn't have because Mark Carney promised that he would be able to eliminate them by July 21st or something, which is not something he had ever promised. And you will notice that when he says he promised that he would do this and promised that he would do this, they are two separate quotes from two different periods of time that he's putting together and is claiming is that one promise that Mark Carney said, I will have these tariffs gone by July 21st, which is something he has never said, ever, ever. So Pierre just outright lying about that. And then again, Pierre trying to frame things as being helpful, right? It's like, I don't want to be negative. I'll be positive like this after being negative for 2 full minutes. Here, in fairness to in fairness, Mark Carney failed. How is that in fairness? In fairness to who or to what? It's like Carney hasn't failed. Um, Then, of course, being a dick to the journalist, because, well, I had to respond to your interjection. Well, the reason an interjection was needed is because you were lying through your teeth. Don't be upset that someone has to interject because they didn't let you just spew 3 minutes of lies uninterrupted and then make it their fault that you veered off topic. You veered off topic when you lied. Let's make it clear. All right. Um, so won't acknowledge the impact of AI, won't acknowledge, uh, you know, uh, the reality of tariffs in there, and then basically says, "Oh, I don't blame the temporary foreign workers. They're just doing what the Liberal government told them to. The Liberal government didn't tell them to do anything. It's the employers that hire the temporary foreign workers. It's not the Liberal government that goes to the. It's not the government of Canada that goes to temporary foreign workers and say, 'Come,' right?" Um, and then his solution is, well, just pay people more. Oh, and how are you gonna get corporations to do that, Pierre? If we just paid people more, if we increased, yeah, but that means corporations would have to willingly, cede potential profits. And we all know that corporations don't pay more unless they absolutely have to. It's not in the corporate ethos, to say, "You know what? Things are tough, so we're just gonna give you more money because we realize for you things are." No, their primary concern is the shareholder, not the employee. So I'm not sure what world Pierre is living in here when he's talking about, his plans for more jobs for youth or something like that, or that eh, we have a problem. It is true. There is high youth unemployment at rates that would be equivalent to, what we're in when there is a recession or close to or announcing that a recession is coming. Um, but Pierre doesn't have anything for them because one, these would have to be jobs that they would willingly take. They would have to be jobs that pay enough, and the whole reason that, particularly in the agricultural sector, that temporary foreign workers are brought in is because they're willing to do the jobs that no one else will do for rates of pay that no one else would want to do it. So unless you make employers pay people more, which of course in this case would probably increase the price of food, which has already gone up a lot over the last 5 years. So Pierre is actually proposing a solution like this, that if it were applied to the agricultural sector, which he wants to exempt, this would raise the price of food, would increase food inflation. This, he's not particularly bright. He also refuses to acknowledge in his entire answer that while the temporary foreign worker program was very limited before the Harper Conservatives came into power, they are the ones that expanded it to like the broader economic sector. They're the ones who expanded it. Pierre, particularly when he brags a lot about having been the Minister of Housing when we had no Minister of Housing, but when he was the Minister of Housing, that portfolio that he had in which housing was included, the temporary foreign worker program was included in that. He didn't seem to think it was a problem then that it had been so expanded. He didn't do anything to fix it then. He wasn't worried about youth unemployment then. He didn't look at this and say, "Oh my God, it's so terrible that we have so many more temporary foreign workers coming in so many other sectors. Maybe that will affect youth employment down the road." No, he was all for it. He supported it. He championed it. But now it's I mean, his logic that the temporary foreign workers are only doing what the Liberals told them to do is technically the temporary foreign workers doing only what the Harper Conservative government told them to do and what he himself told them to do when he was minister. If we're using that logic, because the temporary foreign worker program hasn't changed that much since the time that Pierre was in office as the minister of it. He consistently refuses to acknowledge that there could be any other source for the problem other than Liberals or Mark Carney, for the problem existing to be resolved. And he refuses to admit in any way, shape, or form that there's anything that he or his government did that set the dominoes in place for this to be the situation today. And he refuses to acknowledge in any way, shape, or form that there are maybe things that they could have done better when they were in government that might not have led to this. And he, again, just as it was for the other two topics, the environment and the getting projects built, that he has no solutions. His solutions for getting projects built is to stall the process so that we could pass a law that supplants the law that we already have. His one for the environment is to try to take credit under international law for something under international law we're not allowed to take credit for. And for temporary foreign workers, it's I don't even know what his solution is to force employers to pay young people more somehow, magically. Or not even forced, just saying, if they could be paid more, yeah, okay, but they're not, so there's a reason for that. What do you think that is? These are completely unserious answers to some very big issues that are on the minds of lots of Canadians. On that front, when we're talking about young workers, it seems that the Conservatives throughout the country are not on the same page, because while Pierre Poilièvre is blaming the Liberals and their government for having created the situation, Doug Ford, meanwhile, back in Ontario, is even more insulting. It's something I would have expected to hear out of Pierre Poilièvre's mouth first, actually, but we heard it out of Doug Ford's, and it is unsurprising because Doug Ford has had similar comments to make about other Ontarians as well. That essentially that we are lazy, which is really rich from him, the guy who rarely ever shows up to work and has like Parliament not sitting for months and months and months at a time. But according, to the Toronto Star on September 9th, this is Rob Ferguson, young people who can't find work aren't looking hard enough, Premier Doug Ford said Tuesday, less than a week after Statistics Canada reported Ontario shed 26,000 jobs in August, the most of any province. The remarks during a breakfast speech to the Toronto Regional Board of Trade earned the Premier rebukes from opposition party leaders who accuse him of being out of touch with a tough job market as U.S. President Donald Trump's tariffs take a toll on the economy. Quote, "It drives me nuts when I see young, healthy people and they'll call me saying, 'I can't find a job,'" Ford told the crowd. "I assure you, if you look hard enough, it may be in fast food or something else, but you'll find a job." Right? This from the guy that told people to get off their lazy asses and then criticized as Indigenous communities for wanting to obstruct development projects. That would development projects that would maybe affect their water tables in a negative way, right? And he had to backtrack and apologize for that, and we found out that his apology meant nothing there. While Ontario's unemployment rate dropped to 7.7% in August from 7.9% in July, it was because fewer people were looking for work, Statistics Canada said. The jobless level makes Ontario one of 5 provinces with unemployment above the national average of 7.1%, a level that is the highest nationwide since May 26, not including the peak of the COVID-19 pandemic. The youth unemployment rate nationally for ages 15 to 24 is 14.5%. That's down 0.1% from July when it hit its highest level non-pandemic since September 2010. Three Ontario cities, Windsor at 11.1%, Oshawa at 9%, and Toronto at 8.9%. Windsor and Oshawa, where we make cars, by the way, had the jobless highest rate of the country's 20 largest census metropolitan areas in August, according to Statistics Canada, which noted Ontario has lost 66,000 jobs since the trade war began in February. The numbers show the Premier's comments are offside, said New Democrat leader Merritt Stiles, urging the Premier, quote, to take some responsibility for the unemployment situation instead of deflecting blame. Quote, Doug Ford has no idea what real people, regular people, are dealing with right now, Stiles told reporters at the legislature. He needs to get out there and actually listen to real people, not just his pollsters. And again, I'd like to point out that Doug Ford, who inherited his father's company, is telling other people to look harder for a job. The reason you don't have a job is because you're not looking hard enough. Not because of anything else that's going on, not of anything he did, but because you, kids, are not looking hard enough. Wow. Wow. Okay. And Pierre, again, not on the same page as the Premier. So not on the same page as Danielle Smith with regard to the projects, and not on the same page as Doug Ford with regard to youth not being able to find work here, which in this latter case is a good thing, um, because this is a line that we don't want other politicians repeating because it simply is not true. I've heard plenty of interviews over the course of the summer of kids having sent 60, 70, 100 CVs out. Look at this. And for the most of them, not even getting a response. It's not that people aren't looking hard enough. It's not that people aren't looking hard enough. But conservatives either love to blame the government of the day if it's not them, or blame the person. You're poor because it's your own damn fault. You don't have a job because it's your own damn fault. You're not getting paid enough because it's your own damn fault. It's, just find a better job. Oh, yeah, that's easy to do. We just saw Mr. Grizzly look for pretty much a year for a job until he found one. A lot of stuff can happen to people in a year. These are not serious answers. Okay, the final bit, as you heard before I had a chance to stop it, has to do with what happened in the United States with regard to Charlie Kirk. One of the things that bothers me about some of the response to this is that I do not know why, as Canadians, our politicians are necessarily speaking about this. I understand that it is a big issue that went all around the world. Huge story. Is absolutely shocking. And thus, some people would say, well, what do you say to that? But on the other hand, this is stuff that happened in the United States based on the dynamics that are going on in that country. We're not obligated to have an opinion or a thought on that. We're not. This could be something that you could have responded and said, wow, it's really tragic that something that happened like that happened. Violence is never the answer, but I can't really opine more than that because that's something that's happened in the United States and that's their dynamics. But we had conservatives all over the place demanding that premiers and the prime minister make some type of statement about it. We had Michelle Rempel going, I can't believe Mark Carney hasn't said anything yet. We had people from the BC Conservatives going, my God, I can't believe David Eby hasn't said anything yet, when David Eby had a long time before. But I personally would have preferred that we didn't comment on this, that we weren't asking to comment on this, our elected officials, because it's not our circus. Right? Nothing more than the boilerplate, oh, this is a very tragic thing and violence is never the answer, this. And there should be no statements for Charlie Kirk or to comfort Republican feelings or for his family or whatnot. I understand it's a human thing to do. But there's no reason for our federal government and our provincial governments to be taking any position on this whatsoever. But we live in an interconnected world, right? We ask, and therefore there have been opinions. But I really just found it interesting that we had a whole bunch of people from the conservative movement in Canada demanding because that there be some type of official statement when it's something that does not pertain to us at all. At all. But we have it. In this debate that has followed, there's lots of talk about, oh yes, we need to do better. We need to tone down the rhetoric. And here's some things that I've noticed, however, is that there are a lot of people out there talking about the need to tone down rhetoric as they're pouring gasoline on the fire. Number one, there's a lot of people talking about a overall need to tone down rhetoric, um, but um, not making any suggestions as to how we can do that. There are a whole other group of people talking about, yeah, it's so terrible that the rhetoric has gotten this way. It would sure be good if the other side would tone it down without acknowledging at all their side's contribution to the rhetoric. And on this particular thing, if there's anybody making a comment about toning down the level, but they're only talking about what the other side needs to do to make that happen, that is not a serious comment. Any comment on that about toning down rhetoric that does not come from a place that we all, present company included, for whoever's speaking, and I include myself in this, that all of us have something to contribute to toning down the coarseness of the rhetoric is not a serious answer and should be completely ignored. Right? And then equally should be ignored is anybody who's talking about this and saying, that talking about the level of coarseness of the rhetoric needing to be reduced and not following up. And in order to contribute to that, this is how I intend to lead by example. If you're out there and you're saying, oh my God, the rhetoric is so, and we need to do something about it, and you're not saying, and here's what I'm going to do, because I'm a leader, I'm an influencer in my own circle. So I am going to show the example by no longer doing these things and starting to do these things is not a serious answer. If you're talking about what a general we must do or what others must do, but you're not saying how you're not making a commitment yourself to tone down that rhetoric or to make a change, the comment is useless. Again, especially if you're talking about others, but not yourself. Because all you're doing is contributing. You're blaming the other side, but not taking any responsibility yourself. We've all coarsened the level of debate. So we all have something to contribute to decoarsen it. And if we're going to be the change that we want to see, then it would seem to me that some of your commentary should include what it is that you yourself intend to do. Okay. Thank you for letting me know, kids and cubs.
Here and talk about a developing news story, which is the assassination of U.S. conservative activist Charlie Kirk. The FBI has this morning announced they have arrested a suspect. In this country, when we talk about political violence, you and the Prime Minister have both said it is never justified. But we know that there are growing threats against politicians. That includes yourself and your family.
Yes.
Are you worried?
I worry for my family. I'll be honest with you. We have had very serious threats. To the point where the RCMP decided that it merited protection for my family and I for over a prolonged period of time. And they've been multiple, and they have been serious threats. And I think we need to secure all of our political leaders, not just me. I think all the political leaders and ministers who face real threats according to the RCMP's assessment, they should have protection so that something like this does not happen on our turf here in Canada.
The fact that you're saying that should happen suggests that perhaps there are instances where you think it's not happening. There's not sufficient securing.
Listen, I don't know if you can secure everything, but I think we should do I'm not going to accuse the government of anything on that front. I know that all the political leaders would share my view that this is unfortunately a risk that's out there, and we should do everything we can to mitigate it.
More broadly, what do you think we should be doing differently on a more societal level, political dialogue, to try to address this?
We don't know what motivated this person, so I have a hard time saying what different behavior would have avoided him doing this act. But I think we need to make clear that you can't shut people down just because you disagree with them. Obviously, Mr. Kirk was killed because he expressed a contrary point of view. He said something that somebody didn't think that they should have to hear. But that's democracy. Democracy doesn't mean you get to silence someone just because you disagree with what they have to say. Disagreement and debate is necessary in a free and open democracy, and we can't let the terrorist who carried out this assassination change that.
Is there a change? So that's what we shouldn't do. Mm-hmm. Is there a change? We've heard about the idea of disagreeing agreeably. Is there a tonal change in this country, in Canada's politics, that is needed to keep people safe in the face of this climate?
I think we have to inculcate the idea that we're all going to go through life hearing things we don't agree with, and we don't get to shut down contrary opinions. We have to debate them. Sometimes it's frustrating, maddening, but that's life in a democracy. And, we have to raise our kids, and we have to teach all citizens that freedom of speech includes hearing things you don't like. And we can't censor people, attack them, try to destroy their lives, fire them, kick them out of their place of work, whether it's a media organization or carry out violence as a mechanism to silence views that we don't agree with.
Obviously, there's a pretty dramatic difference between a political assassination and someone, the examples you gave of somebody losing their job because they said something offensive to a reporter in front of a TV camera. I think there was a very public example of that, losing their job. Those things are not really the same.
No, they're not. That's not what I was saying. What I'm saying is that we need to live in a society where people are free to express themselves, and where everyone understands they're going to have to hear contrary opinions. I hear them all the time. It's part of the reality. But this example, I guess,
is relevant. Is that particular case of the reporters being harassed, people yelling this offensive "F her" right in the it talks about the limits. Like it's true. I understand what you're saying, that people should be able to speak their minds, but we also need limits on what is appropriate when people shouldn't be harassed in the workplace and whatnot. Like, do you think it's inappropriate for someone to lose their job when they conduct what appears to be an act of public harassment?
Of course.
Yeah. I guess I'm just trying to understand where you see the line, given that you put all those things in the same category.
Where I see the line is that people have the freedom to express political opinions that are contrary to others. But of course, that does not include carrying out harassment against. In fact, my point was exactly the opposite of that. If you're harassing someone or you're aggressing against someone because of their political point of view, then you're behaving inappropriately, and that should not go on.
Okay, we're going to end the conversation there. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you for letting me know, kids and cubs, that the audio had cut out. And that's going to be the extent of our Pierre hearing from Pierre today. But you will notice, again, the tons of bullshit in that answer. He says he worries for his family, trying to make it seem like I don't worry for myself personally, but I do worry for my family, as does everyone. I'm sure that Catherine McKenna also very much was concerned for her family. Evan Solomon, who is now the Minister for Artificial Intelligence, who is Jewish, had his office vandalized just last week, I think it was. Um, Catherine McKenna was driven out of politics. She has a biography coming out soon called Run Like a Girl, if it hasn't already come out already. But in her memoir, she details the abuse she endured here. According to Nick Murray, writing for MSN or for the Canadian Press here, as published on MSN News, former Environment Minister Catherine McKenna says federal security agencies initially refused to offer her protection and wouldn't even show her the risk assessment they'd completed, as she faced a rising tide of threats and harassment online and in person. McKenna was the Liberal MP for Ottawa Centre from 2015 to 2021 and served in cabinet the entire time, first as Environment Minister, later as the Minister of Infrastructure. She has previously discussed the years of abuse she endured in politics, particularly as the minister responsible for the Trudeau government's climate policy, but describes her experiences in far more detail in her new autobiography, Run Like a Girl, which is being released next week. In the book, she says the attacks on her expanded over time from social media swipes to people hurling abuse and harassing her and her staff in person, at work, outside her home, even when she was on outings with her kids. Many of the tweets were violent, she writes. One popular meme featured a Barbie doll being crushed by a sledgehammer. Another one had the message, "TikTok, Barbie bitch." And it didn't stop with me. The messages threatened my family as well and described different ways we would be attacked and how my kids should contract fatal diseases. Strange men showed up at her Ottawa home and took selfies outside, then posted the videos online later as trophies, she writes. A man in a truck pulled up beside her and her children as they walked past an Ottawa movie theater and hurled profanity-laden abuse while he filmed her reaction. Just after 2019 election, her constituency office was defaced with graffiti depicting a degrading word for a woman, and she says her staff repeatedly faced harassment and attacks when they answered the office phone. Quote, "We would get disturbing threats in letters or packages with bizarre content," she writes. In August 2020, she writes, a man walked into her constituency office, verbally assaulted her staff while recording the encounter. She says her staff reported the incident to the RCMP but didn't get a call back. McKenna says that when she found out, she contacted the Ottawa police, who did launch an investigation. The next day, she says she asked her chief of staff to tell the Prime Minister's office it must immediately hold a meeting with everyone responsible for MP security. I said, "We're not going to do this anymore. I'm on my own with my kids, and I've got some guy screaming at my staff, and he's looking for me. It's time the people responsible for my safety took it seriously." But when that meeting happened, McKenna writes, it felt like she wasn't even there. She says security agencies were passing the buck on who was responsible for her safety at different times and places, and the RCMP told her they only provided security when they saw significant risk. Quote, "I asked for my risk assessment, which they refused to disclose and cited security clearances. I reminded them I was a minister and had top security clearance. Then more excuses. I was furious. If anything happens to me or my family, I'm holding all of you responsible," McKenna recalls, telling the agencies. "So let's just get a real, do you know where this guy is currently, the one hurling abuse at my staff? Do any of you know?" McKenna says someone replied the man could have been in Calgary for all they knew. Quote, "He's here in Ottawa," I exploded. "The Ottawa police know where he is," McKenna writes. At some point, the RCMP increased security and took the protection of ministers, including myself, more seriously. She says former Defense Minister Harjit Sajjan, who was often seen with a tight protective detail during his time in politics, was also denied access to his risk assessment. "I was like, look, I'm just one person who's trying to do my job, and the only reason I'm getting these is because I'm a cabinet minister working on climate change," McKenna recently told the Canadian press in an interview. The RCMP had not yet responded to a request for comment about the Canadian press about McKenna's allegations. Only the Prime Minister and Governor General are provided round-the-clock security by the RCMP's VIP protection branch. In recent years, however, cabinet ministers and some higher-profile opposition MPs have been seen with security details, including Liberal Minister Mélanie Joly, Conservative Deputy Leader Melissa Lantsman, and former NDP leader Jagmeet Singh. In 2024, the RCMP reported the budget for protecting parliamentarians, excluding the Prime Minister, had increased to $2.5 million in the 9 months from April to December 2023. That was 40% more than the $1.8 million budget in the full 12 months before that, and 86% more than the $1.4 million spent in 2021-2022. So this type of rhetoric is costing us, not only in good quality candidates who are not showing up anymore, good quality MPs and representatives that decide not to run again, but also in money to protect and ensure their safety. 86% more in 2021 than 2022. McKenna told the Canadian press she wrote her book to inspire young women and help them feel supported, though she said some of her friends and family after reading the book asked why anyone would want to get into politics. Quote, the security situation involving politicians is not okay. And what I went through, the reason I tell this is because it was bonkers and we need to do better. I've talked to a number of women politicians, including this week, not even at the federal level, at the local and provincial level, and they are facing extreme threats, not just online, but offline. And that's not okay. I know most Canadians don't think it's okay. Now, in this article, I want to point out to both McKenna and Harjit Sajjan not being able to get additional information about the threat assessment against them, because even though they have some security clearance as ministers, they don't have secret compartmentalized information level status. They have the same status that Pierre Poilièvre had when he was minister, which he keeps on claiming when he's not sitting for a security clearance, is his security clearance that would entitle him to see SCI level information. It didn't for McKenna, and it didn't for Sajjan, and it won't for him. Just thought that was interesting that this article highlighted the fact that what Pierre keeps on saying about his own security clearance is BS. We have an example. 2 cabinet ministers who couldn't even get information about their own risk assessment because the information was of a higher security clearance than even they had as ministers in cabinet. You also notice that during all this time that these things were happening to the Liberals, Pierre said nothing about the coarseness of the rhetoric. Pierre changed nothing and how he went about doing his business, even though this was happening to other people who also have families. But he's concerned for his family, rightfully so. He just didn't ever seem to be much concerned for the families of anybody else, unfortunately. Now here says he's not going to accuse the federal government of doing stuff to make this worse in this case, which is good because he shouldn't, because all that would do was increase the rhetoric again. But you will notice from that point on, he goes, we should be doing everything we can. Well, if Pierre truly believes we should be doing everything we can, how has Pierre demonstrated that personally? Yeah, you're waiting too, right? Exactly. And then in this answer, he goes, we don't know why Charlie Kirk died. I think this. And then a couple of seconds later, he says, obviously, it was because he expressed views that somebody didn't. You just said you don't know. And then 30 seconds later, you attribute a reason. We don't know if that's it, particularly since the latest news reports show that the person that is in custody is refusing to be cooperative with authorities. We don't know if it was because he expressed views that someone didn't like. We could speculate, we can assume it might be a safe assumption, might be the most reasonable or most likely one, most plausible one, but we don't know yet that that's what it was. And I've seen this a lot from conservatives. We don't know what did this, but well, it's because he expressed views like this. Well, do you know or do you not know? Ben Shapiro got caught by Bill Maher doing the exact same thing. Pierre Poilievre, in this interview, basically said the same thing that Ben Shapiro said on Real Time with Bill Maher. Oh, gee, we don't know what did that. Well, he did it. Obviously, it's because he expressed contrary views. You just said you don't know why that is. And now you're saying you know why it is. So which one is it? He goes, I have a difficult time saying what it is that we could do to make things better. Yeah, I guess so. I completely understand why you would have a difficult time saying what it is that we could do better because you yourself have refused to do anything better in all this time. So yeah, I can understand why you're challenged by that, Pierre. And then he goes, but we need to understand that you don't get to silence other people who express views that you don't want to hear. Everybody has to hear them. I guess that's why you're trying to defund the CBC. I guess that's why you keep on trying to denigrate and tear down journalists that come from any outlet that is not right wing and supporting of you, because you truly believe that we all uh, are going to expect to hear things that we don't like to hear, and we don't get to shut people down because of that. Your behavior does not model your beliefs, sir. And then, of course, saying that, yeah, if there are people that are engaged in public acts of public harassment, there definitely needs to be some consequence. Pierre, Andrew Scheer literally just put a target on Rachel Gilmore's head. What are you going to do about that? What are you going to do about that, Pierre? If you say in this interview that these are things that should be dealt with, you have the person who is the interim leader of your party literally just did this a day or two before you went and gave this interview. And you say there should, really would have loved Catherine Cullen to bring that up right at that specific time. And for Andrew Scheer, this is not the first time he's done something like that. He's a repeat offender. I think it was maybe a year ago or 2 years ago. I think it was a little less than 2 years ago. Um, there was a senator, a Canadian senator, who Andrew Scheer doxed. Doxed. That's and he still got to be interim leader. Taking a look for it because it seems that Senator Bernadette Clement, November 22nd, 2023, appears in the Globe and Mail here, by Mary Wolfe is the journalist, and hopefully I can access it here because there we go. It was behind paywall, but I have it here. Senator Bernadette Clement says she feared for her safety after receiving a threat following a tweet by former Conservative Party leader Andrew Scheer in the style of a wanted poster with her picture and office phone number. Mr. Scheer post on X, formerly Twitter, urged people to call the senator's office and claimed she had shut down debate on a Conservative-backed bill that would help farmers get a carbon tax carve-out. Ms. Clement said his tweet prompted a stream of angry calls to her office, racist abuse online, and threatening phone calls from an unknown man who said he was coming to her house, which is being investigated by parliamentary security. In a dramatic scene in the Senate on Tuesday evening, senators from different groups stood up to support Ms. Clement and to condemn Conservative conduct towards her and two other women senators. Senator Raymond Saint-Germain, the facilitator of the Independent Senators Group, raised a point of privilege with the Senate Speaker about attempts of intimidation. She said one Conservative senator shouted fascists at the Independent senators, and there were attempts at bullying. Ms. Saint-Germain condemned the tweet by Mr. Scheer, which she said resembled a wanted poster from the 1800s Wild West and elicited high volumes of threatening phone calls and emails to these independent senators. Quote, "It got so out of control that one of our senators had serious reasons to fear for her physical safety and was forced to leave her private residence and spend her weekend elsewhere in a secure location," she said. It got so out of control that the Senate security team, together with local police, is still working on this case. Ms. Clement, who is black and sits in as an independent senator, said in an interview with the Globe and Mail that after Mr. Scheer's post on X, which was retweeted by some Conservative senators, she also became the target of vitriol online, including racist and misogynistic comments that she reported to X. They are being investigated by the social media platform, she said. She said her local Cornwall police had been, quote, excellent when she reported the man's threats to come to her home, and the Parliamentary Protective Services are still investigating. The onslaught was a result of her decision on November 9th to call for an adjournment of debate in the Senate on a bill the Conservatives support, which would remove the federal carbon tax from propane and natural gas used on farms for grain drying, barn heating, and other purposes. She told the Globe she wanted to halt the debate to give a chance for other senators who were not in the chamber to speak, but Conservatives believe she was trying to stall the passage of the bill. Mr. Scheer's tweet posted last week when the Senate was not sitting suggested she was working to help Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. The tweet displayed photos of Miss Clement and Quebec Senator Chantal Petitclerc. And Chantal Petitclerc is a senator who uses a wheelchair. A former Paralympian who won a lot of medals for Canada, who helped propose the adjournment motion on a post that Miss Clement said was designed with ripped edges to look like a wanted poster. Colin asked these Trudeau senators why they shut down debate on giving farmers a carbon tax carve-out, Mr. Scheer's post said above their photos with their office phone numbers and email addresses underneath. Miss Clement said she decided to leave her house in Cornwall, where she was the town's first black mayor, and her address was well known, to stay in Ottawa, where her location was protected. She said she had also left her panic button in Ottawa and is now carrying it with her. Miss Clement said she froze after the Conservative leader in the House, Don Plett, came over and berated her and two other senators, including Ms. Saint-Germain, on November 9th after the adjournment was called. Quote, "He stood over our desks at very close proximity. I felt the spittle landing on my laptop. He was yelling," she told the Globe. Mr. Plett's spokeswoman said the Conservative leader had gone to speak to Ms. Saint-Germain after the surprise call for an adjournment, as he understood there had been an agreement to have a vote on the bill that day. Ms. Clement was sitting next to Ms. Saint-Germain, and he was not leaning over her but against a table, she said. The debate over C-234 on November 9th got quite heated in all sides of the chamber, Mr. Plett told the Globe. My intentions were never meant to be mean-spirited. I recognize and understand what happened and will address this in a fulsome manner on Thursday. Ms. Saint-Germain, facilitator of the independent group of senators, told the Senate that a line had been crossed and called for action to be taken by the Speaker. She said there had been physical and verbal threats, bullying, and harassment experienced by members of our group and members of other groups that day by Conservative senators. We are all here to act honorably. That is not done through intimidation, doxing, and online lies, she said. We are not doing that when we shout and scream in this chamber across the aisle because a motion was moved that we disagree with. Independent Senator Tony Dean told the Globe the Senate, quote, was sending a clear message that this aggressive form of politics is not going to be tolerated anymore. Mr. Scheer did not respond to requests for comment. So Mr. Andrew Scheer is a recidivist, a repeat offender, a candidate for political jail, not bail, on this front. But Pierre's in the interview saying, well, we need to do that. And, if there are people that are abusing, then we should act on that. Well, Pierre, ball's in your court. What are you going to do about Andrew Scheer? Let us know. So, 11 minutes and 23 seconds of utter BS from Pierre Poilièvre on all fronts. And clearly not taking any accountability for what it is that he or his party contribute to the coarsening of the debate. In fact, they're engaged in it right now. It's just... I don't know what the solution is to get these politicians to change and to adopt different tactics and different strategies. I don't know if it has to be more embarrassing interviews, more interviews where their feet are held to the fire. I don't know if legislation is required, but clearly, right, we have an example in Andrew Scheer as to behavior that is completely unacceptable. And Pierre has done nothing. Not to mention the three of his MPs that decided to have lunch with Christine Anderson, and there was no consequence for them either. If you truly believe that in Canada we have freedom of expression, which means we are going to be exposed to views that we don't like, but we have to hear them anyway, and that we could get upset or whatnot because of the views, but that we can't get violent and we can't seek to shut people down for having made them. But if such commentary starts to cross the line into abuse or puts people in danger, then yes, we should all be doing something. Then please, sir, Please, sir, propose a policy or course of action. Make some changes that you would like the Liberals to steal. Again, you first, sir. What are you going to do? Lots of we need to do, but not I need to do. My party needs to do. I am aware of certain behaviors of certain members of my party, and I am not happy with it. And I will make sure, as leader of the party, that that ceases. Because this type of rhetoric contributes nothing positive to society. Didn't hear that from him in that answer. Didn't hear from that. Worried about his family, as he rightfully should be, because I do suspect that it is true that he has gotten a lot of threats. But no concern for the family of anybody else, though. Demonstrated lack of concern for the family of everybody else. This is not a serious man. And this is not somebody that we can rely on to change this dynamic. So long as he is in the picture, there is going to be a force that is ensuring that the current dynamic of toxicity and negativity and people being put in danger and being threatened is going to continue. We'll see what happens. But not a particularly impressive sortie from the recycled leader of the official opposition. At all. Couple little bits of news for you before we go today, kits and cubs. Over the course of the weekend, as you may know, the Ontario Liberal Party membership got together for a little bit of a convention, a gathering, where the highlight or the big event of the weekend is going to be a vote on the continued leadership of Bonnie Crombie. And there was a active organization, New Leaf Liberals, that had been put together to try and turn over a new leaf. So they wanted a new leader. And throughout the entire process, there were some interesting things going on. We had that video that we mentioned and we talked about on the bonus show with Mr. Grizzly, how Bonnie Crombie started out in the video saying good things, but then after that sort of started to soft pedal stuff. And in terms of what changes needed to be made. Then there was apparently a report, post-mortem on what they could have done that Bonnie Crombie's team was trying to keep hidden until after the vote. And she has essentially had to be forced to release that. And then it was released first to the Toronto Star rather than the membership, which probably didn't leave a good taste in people's mouths. There were a lot of excuses for why things had not been done, which didn't seem to pass mustard with certain members of the party, saying that this is clearly a fabrication or a lie. And the most telling of all is Bonnie Crombie not willing to say before the vote what an acceptable threshold would be for her to remain as party leader. Now, we all know that with these votes, right, 50% plus one is the pass. And I guess technically you can say, well, I got 50% plus one, so that means I've won, I get to stay. But we all know in politics that credibility and legitimacy matter. And we had Jason Kenney back in the day, right? He got a leadership vote that was over 50%, but not a lot over 50%. And even though he had been vowing he would stay, when he gave his speech following the result, he said, and this is not high enough and this is why I'm leaving. And you had everybody in the audience go, oh, no, right? Not everybody, but a certain number of people. It was audible because he had been maintaining from the beginning that as long as it was 50% plus one, he was going to stay, putting on that face. And then he got 50% plus one, but he didn't get something in the 60s or 70s or whatnot. And well, that didn't happen. Now, with Bonnie Crombie, there was a lot of people thinking, the threshold should be at least 75% or at least 66%, two-thirds, that kind of stuff. Well, um, turns out in the end, she didn't get either of those. She came in, I believe, if I remember correctly, around 57% in there. And then it seems that she had gone up to the podium and basically stated that that was enough for her. She was going to stay. There you go. And that did not do very well. Now, the reason some people were saying that she would get to stay was that because in the leadership vote that made her leader or something like that, I think um, she had picked up. Now, of course, this has a point system or whatnot like this, but by the time that the ranked voting process got through, when it was all over, um, she said that she had picked up about 53%, I think it was, and says, well, this 57% is better than the 53% that I won the leadership with. So clearly, that's a mandate for me to stay. No. That's not a thing. Um, and this is here, Sabrina Nanji, Queen Park's, oops, sorry. That too is definitely behind a paywall here, but there's a little bit here. She said that it seems that there were some rumors that says that she would coast. She thought that she would coast around 70% of support in her leadership review. According to senior strategists Alexis Levine and Tom Allison, were feeding her. They were saying the organization that they would probably land closer to 75%. Well, she came in at 57. And it seems that for weeks, regional organizers were warning those staffers that the math didn't add up, but they were brushed off as dead wrong. And when they were brushed off, some were reporting that they felt belittled and humiliated, which, of course, definitely inclines people to vote yes when you're doing that. Quote, they were confident and no one was going to tell them otherwise, when organizer told QPO, which is Queen's Park Observer. It was the leadership race all over again. They promised a first ballot romp, and she barely limped across the finish line. Many organizers say they only signed up because they were assured Levine and Allison were sidelined. Instead, the pair roared back in recent weeks, with Levine appointed chief scrutineer and Allison making cameos in Team Bonnie, Team Crombie strategy clips and stuff of the like. So yeah, things weren't going very well at all in this process. And then, according to Laura Stone here at the Globe and Mail, basically she writes, Bonnie Crombie has asked the Ontario Liberal Party to launch a leadership vote and says that she will resign as leader once her successor is chosen after a disappointing review of her time at the helm. So she got the result. She got on the stage. She gave a speech talking about everything that could be done and insisted that she was staying. And my first reaction to that was like, no, that's not good. If she stays, she is going to destroy the party. She will kill it. Because you cannot, on 57%, with 43% of the membership that bothered to show up and cared enough voting against you, claim that you have legitimacy to stay as leader. You need way more than 57%. Way more. But she tried. She first announced that she was not going anywhere, and I guess she thought better of it at some point, or with some reflection. Miss Crombie's decision to step down came abruptly early Sunday evening hours after Ontario Liberal members reluctantly agreed to keep her as leader after she initially said she intended to stay on. It means the party will host its third leadership contest since 2018, when the party lost government and was relegated to third place in the legislature. More than 2,000 Ontario Liberal delegates met this weekend to discuss the result of February's snap election, which saw Doug Ford's Progressive Conservatives re-elected to a third majority government, and to vote on whether the party should hold a leadership contest within the next year. The results of the vote announced earlier Sunday at a downtown Toronto hotel were 57% holding against 57% against holding a leadership contest and 43% in favor of having one. While Ms. Crombie technically cleared the threshold required to remain leader, the result was short of the two-thirds level of support some said Ms. Crombie would need to hold the conference of the party. Liberal MP Nathaniel Erskine-Smith, who ran against Ms. Crombie in the 2023 leadership contest, was among those who said she needed a minimum of two-thirds support to stay on. A group called New Leaf Liberals was also pushing for a change in leadership. Ms. Crombie, who failed in her bid to win a seat in the election, also met with her caucus before the leadership result was released, and she said she had their support, but none of the 14 MPPs appeared alongside her on the stage. After the result was released, Ms. Crombie said she intended to stay on. About 3 hours later, her office released a statement saying she asked for a leadership vote. In her statement, Ms. Crombie said she spoke to her family, colleagues, and the party executive and wanted to be sure the party was ready to take on, quote, the significant challenge of putting on a leadership race and could draft a clear roadmap. They have assured me that the party is ready and I'm confident they can handle that task. Even though I received a majority of support from the delegates, I believe it is the best decision for the Ontario Liberal Party to facilitate an orderly transition towards a leadership vote. I have advised the party president of my decision to resign upon the selection of my successor, Ms. Crombie said. The details of the leadership race were not immediately known. Ontario Liberal Party President Catherine McGarry, who was re-elected to her post on Sunday, thanked Ms. Crombie for, quote, everything that she has done for her party as leader. Under her leadership, the party saw its vote share grow to 30% and won 5 additional seats in the February vote for a total of 14, enough to regain official party status, which comes with more resources in the legislature. But Ms. Crombie, a former 3-time mayor of Mississauga, lost her bid for her own seat in that city. Ms. McGarry said the party's executive will decide on the details of a leadership election contest at a later date. Ontario Premier Doug Ford, in a social media post on Sunday, thanked Ms. Crombie for her many years of service. Quote, politics demands a lot of personal sacrifice, including time away from family and loved ones. I want to wish Bonnie all the best in her next chapter, he wrote. Prime Minister Mark Carney also expressed deep gratitude for Ms. Crombie's contributions to public life. Earlier Sunday, Ms. Crombie acknowledged that the outcome of the vote was disappointing, but argued that holding a leadership race less than 2 years after she was chosen to lead the party, quote, would do more harm than good for our party. It's not the number I wanted, but it's not the finish line for me, Ms. Crombie said in a brief remarks after the result was announced. Marcel Whiter, president and chief advocate at public affairs firm Aurora Strategy Global, who had served as an advisor to Ms. Crombie, said he believes if Ms. Crombie had won her own seat, she would have survived the leadership test. Quote, if you don't have the caucus behind you and then you're fighting an internal revolt, it becomes a much bigger issue. Sharon Carr, a former provincial and federal Liberal staffer and now a principal at public affairs firm Navigator, said no leader would want their political legacy to end this way. Quote, it just shows a bit of an amateur hour in terms of what was happening behind the scenes, she said. Scott Reed, a consultant and one-time senior aide to former, Scott Reed, a consultant and one-time senior aide to former Liberal Prime Minister Paul Martin, said Ms. Crombie can claim credit for raising the party's seat count as well as fundraising at a time when they couldn't raise a buck downtown Toronto. Speaking after the leadership result, but before Ms. Crombie said she was resigning, Liberal MPP John Fraser said the party's caucus, quote, expressed their opinions and told her what they thought. He also said they offered to support and told her she needs to make her own decision. Quote, nobody told her this is what you have to do, he said in an interview. So she was going to stay. 3 hours later, decided, yeah, probably not good. I'm going to be facing a revolt. And this is probably not good for the party. Me staying is probably worse than for the party ultimately than having yet another leadership run. In the lead up to it, Mr. Nathaniel Erskine-Smith had been very active, and a lot of people were wondering if he was doing some pushes behind the scenes in order to generate this type of result, to the point that Bonnie Crombie was actually asked about it, what she thought, which is, well, not the type of question that you probably want to be asked as you're going in for that type. And I think which is the date on which people voted, even though the results were announced a little later. Nate Erskine-Smith had published this video that had a lot of people, and this is again before the vote results were counted, that had certain people who were very knowledgeable about the inner workings of the party, suggesting, Nate has declared that he's in the running for Bonnie Crombie's job before the vote was even in. I will let you determine for yourselves whether or not you get this sense from this video, but it is very. So I will show it to you, and you kits and cubs can let me know if you believe that this was Mr. Erskine Smith sending the signal that he wanted her gone and was planning to move in, or whether or not it was just, somebody expressing their views on, where do we go next?
What do we want from our politics? Well, our National Caucus just met in Edmonton to get ready for the return of Parliament, and Ontario Liberals will now decide what the future holds. In both cases, we need to ask ourselves what we want from our politics. While direct attacks to our sovereignty have abated, we still need our leaders to stand firm in the face of threats to our economic security. The Prime Minister has rightly promised Buy Canada federal procurement and sectoral supports where needed most. Strangely, though, after a snap election call to specifically earn a mandate to fight back, well, Ford's response has been middling at best. Now, all leaders tell us it is time to build a strong economy, and some areas of jurisdiction are more distinct. The feds are focused on a world-class defense industrial strategy, and I wish Ford showed that same ambition in building world-class healthcare and education instead of steadily undermining the strength of these public systems. Other areas of jurisdiction are shared, like the housing crisis. Stronger federal housing action has helped to deliver a boom in purpose-built rentals. What's next? Well, we promised a wartime effort, and it's time to realize one. Unfortunately, Ford has failed to keep pace with other provinces, and Ontario's woeful housing starts, they put any national progress at risk. In the face of rising youth employment, the feds should build on the promise of a youth climate corps to create meaningful opportunities for our next generation. Ford's answer? You are on your own. Now, when it comes to keeping our communities safe, the federal justice minister recently outlined action on bail reform and more, recognizing the need to both protect the presumption of innocence and to protect the public from repeat and violent offenders. But law reform is only part of the picture. Delays and an under-resourced administration of justice, those lie at Ford's feet. Now, as we work to address today's challenges, and there are many, we also need our leaders to act in the best interests of our collective future. At the national level, we promise to make Canada a clean energy superpower. From an east-west transmission grid, to approving critical mineral projects, to methane rules and a stronger industrial carbon price, there is a lot of work ahead to realize the opportunity of a clean transition. Again, we can't do it if our largest province is missing in action. Fossil fuels now power 4 times the electricity today in Ontario than they did when Ford took office, and it is set to get worse. Cost-effective wind and solar, an afterthought. And for all of the tough talk on Fox, we procure 75% of our natural gas from the United States. Wasted tax dollars on private spas are one thing, they're bad, but mismanaging our energy needs will be a much bigger cost for all of us in the end. So, what do we want from our politics? Well, hopefully, the answer is serious ideas and substantive action. A willingness to draw a sharp contrast where needed, yes, but that will also paint a positive picture of who we are, our goals for a more just society, and how we plan to get there. Carney needs to deliver on the ambition we promised: affordable housing, clean energy, and economic resilience. A renewed focus on the economy, yes, but without losing social progress. And Ford? He needs an opposition that won't only highlight the incompetence and corruption of his cartoon politics, but that offers intelligence, compassion, and integrity.
There you go, kits and cubs. What do you think? I mean, if you're asking what do we want from our politics, and he's talking about as much about Doug Ford as he's talking about the government of which he's a member of at the moment, well, I could see how some people would think shots fired. I can see how some people would think that. Okay, interesting. Next thing I wanted to talk about very briefly, because we are over the 2-hour mark already. It seems that in addition, well, Pierre would describe it as Mark Carney having launched another bureaucracy. But according to David Baxter at the Canadian Press, the newly created Build Canada Homes Agency is now a thing. It will oversee plans to build 4,000 homes on 6 federally owned sites as part of a $13 billion agency budget to speed up affordable home building, Prime Minister Mark Carney said on Sunday. Carney said that the $13 billion were all for financial incentives for builders to construct affordable homes and reduced upfront costs of affordable home building. Specific locations for the homes have not yet been announced, but Carney said they will be in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, Longueuil, Quebec, Ottawa, Toronto, Winnipeg, and Edmonton. Construction is expected to begin on the first of these homes next year, according to a senior government official. Quote, "The core challenge present in the housing market is it's just too hard to build," Carney said at a press conference in Nepean. Carney said he's asked his colleagues to identify land owned by government departments that can be used for housing, which will be added to the list of 88 properties on the Canada Land Bank that are available. He said this will, quote, "help lower costs for builders and, most importantly, lower the rents and new home prices for Canadian families." And as you saw in that video from Nate Erskine-Smith, the graph about purpose-built rental, which we talked about a few shows ago, you see how it definitely went up. So there's less construction of condos and all that type of stuff. But with the type of funding that's been announced, you see the increase in building of purpose-built rental here, which is one of the things that we specifically need. Carney said that the new agency will also look to speed up the permitting process by giving the green light to bulk projects. The government's Rental Protection Fund, which helps community housing groups purchase private rental units in order to keep them affordable, will continue under Build Canada Homes. The agency uses the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation definition of affordable housing, which is costing less than 30% of pre-tax household income. The new agency will also include $1 billion fund for transitional housing projects aimed to help people at risk of homelessness. Build Canada Homes is meant to be the main agency overseeing affordable housing projects that involve the federal government. Quote, "Build Canada Homes will prioritize the use of cost-efficient and modern methods of construction, including factory-built, modular, and mass timber," Carney said. Factory-built homes, he said, can be mass-produced in controlled settings and assembled in days, enabling construction to happen in the winter. This will include a partnership with the Nunavut Housing Corporation to build some homes off-site. The partnership with Build Canada Homes is expected to build 700 homes, about 30% of which will be built off-site and shipped to Nunavut, Carney said. He said the agency will also adopt the federal government's recently announced Buy Canadian policy, which is meant to prioritize the use of Canadian materials and inputs as a way to help bolster the economy in the face of U.S. tariffs. The agency's CEO, Anna Balayo, is a former Toronto City Councillor and Deputy Mayor who has served on the board of Toronto Community Housing. So there you go. Moving ahead with the Major Projects Office, moving forward with Build Canada Homes, things that Mark Carney said that he was going to do, he is in the process of doing. And we're happy to see those developments. It's going to be interesting to see how Pierre decides to be reductive with this as well. You know he's going to be, but again, we just let him yammer on, and we let the facts speak for themselves here in this case. Finally, kits and cubs, before we go today, just wanted to give a shout out to a Canadian who has been making us proud for a very, 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 very long time, who finally got his due. And of course, as you know, I am talking about Mr. Evan Dunphy, who is a race walker. And he is one of Canada's most beloved track and field athletes. And he has had a lot of success throughout his career, starting way back as in 2013 when he won the bronze medal in the team 20-kilometer race at the Summer Universiade. And then in 2013 at Les Jeux de la Francophonie, picked up the silver. And then at the North American, Central American, and Caribbean Championships, picked up silver in 2022 and gold in 2018, also in the 20-kilometer. Gold at 2015 at the Pan Am Games, gold in the 10-kilometer walk in the 2022 Birmingham Commonwealth Games, silver in 2016 Rome at the World Race Walking Team Championships 20K, and at the World Championships in 2019 in Doha, Qatar, took the bronze in the 50-kilometer race walk, and at the Olympic Games in Tokyo, got bronze in the 50-kilometer walk. Well, at the World Championships, the first event of the whole championships was the 35-kilometer race walk, and Evan Dunphy was in fifth place with about 5 kilometers to go, and it was a race that had a lot of drama at that moment. There was the leader was from Ecuador, and second and third place were from Japan, and the World Championships are being held in Japan. And the runner from Ecuador, I guess his feet did not remain in contact the entire time, because when you're race walking, one of the reasons the hips move in that funny way is because in jogging, when you're jogging, at some point both feet are off the ground at some point mid-stride, and race walking, your feet, part of a foot, needs to be in contact with the ground at all times. And it seems that for Mr. Hurtado from Ecuador, that was not the case. So he was assigned a 3-minute penalty, and that in a 35-kilometer race walk is the kiss of death. It means you can't win. And then there started to be more drama with a competitor from Japan who actually had to stop in the middle of the walk and got a little woozy, and then kept going. And then another one kind of hit a wall and fell back. And Evan Dunphy moved up from fifth to fourth to third to second, and then to first. And then with about 2 kilometers to go, he was starting to seize up, and I'm going like, no, you've worked so hard for this. And he managed to deal with that, and walked into the stadium and was first and won the gold medal, the first gold medal of the World Track and Field Championships, which is going to cause Mr. Dunphy to have to change his Twitter profile, because up until then, he described himself as, I think, uh, the most prolific fourth place finisher, because Evan Dunphy has finished fourth place many times. He called himself the best place finisher. That is no longer going to be the case on his Twitter profile. He is now a world champion, and not only is he a world champion, but as reported on the show last March, he also set the world record in the 35-kilometer race walk. So he entered this competition ranked third in the world. I think that might change too as a result of this win. And the prize came with a $70,000 US check, which is very helpful for him because he's looking to buy a house, because he is getting married next week as well. So everything is coming up roses for Mr. Evan Dunphy. And I could not have been happier. I watched the race as soon as we were done with the Bonus Beaver show. I tuned right in and watched it, and was cheering for him. When I saw he was in fifth place, it was like, okay, he might have a chance there. And then I'm thinking, oh God, here we go again, maybe a fourth place yet again, poor guy. But then, like I said, I have never seen a race walk with so much drama. And he, as Pierre would say, he brought it home. And he is bringing home the gold. So I could not be happier for this guy. On top of that, he's a gem of a person. If you've ever seen him in interview, if you know about all his contributions to the sport and what he does outside the sport, just a class A person, absolute class A person. And I could not be happier for him. When good things happen to good people, right? That's the thing, right? You want good things to happen to good people. And this is some guy that has been putting in the work for years upon years. And finally, he have his moment. And at Kitsubs, I am trying to show a picture of him to you, but there we go. The platform mysteriously disappeared from the screen for a second. But here we go. Hopefully, this will show up, and I will be able to show you a picture of Mr. Duffy, because for some reason the computer is very, very, very slow all of a sudden. And I do not know what it is that you see, because I cannot see myself at the moment. There we go. No, that's clearly not what I want to show. There we go. There he is. Mr. Evan Dunphy, Canadian flag around his neck, gold medal. His mother was there to watch. He went up into the stands and gave her a big hug and put his medal around her neck. And at the World Championships, they give you the gold medal right away on the track. And then they take it away from you so that they can go and engrave it and then hand it to you at the medal ceremony. So it was a little confusing at first because when I saw the gold medal already, I said, when did they have the medal ceremony? We didn't hear the O Canada, but that came later. And uh, given how grueling a 35-kilometer race walk is, the competitor from Japan, I believe, who finished in second place, needed to give him a hand to get up on the top step of the podium because his legs and his hips were failing him a little bit there in that moment. But yeah, this brings great joy and happiness to me personally because I'm a very, very big fan of Evan Dunphy, and fingers crossed, we are hoping to maybe get him on the show. We were trying to get him on the show last year, in fact, and it turns out that he had agreed and we had missed it. I just found out because when I wrote him to congratulate and extend the invitation again, found out that we had answered, that he had answered, and his email had slipped through the cracks. Neither I or Mr. Grizzly saw it. So hopefully, I wrote back to him and apologized for the oversight and told him that the invitation still stands. He's probably going to be very busy doing a lot of media, given he's a world champion, and then he's going off to get married, and then of course, honeymoon time and that type of stuff. So we might not get him for a while. But I did extend the invitation again, and hopefully he will say yes again, and his yes won't fall through the cracks. He'll be here, and we'll be able to bring you a world record holder and world champion here on the show. But I could not be happier for him. Also want to give a shout out to Victoria Madeline Penny, who competed at the World Boxing Championships. We sent 8 Canadians, and she came back with a bronze medal in her weight class. So congratulations to you. It's been a while since we've had a medalist at the World Championships in boxing. We did have a bronze medalist at the last Olympic Games. Can't remember his last name. His first name is Wyatt, I believe. Charming man. Was really impressed with his interview at the Olympics. And he has, unfortunately, no longer on the national team because after winning his bronze, he went over to the professional side and is competing there. But Wyatt Sanford is his name. So yeah, it's nice to have and Tamara Thibault also, who was didn't win at the Olympics, but was a gold medal prospect and got upset in the first round. She too has moved to the professional ranks in her career. So we will have Victoria Madeline Penny as pretty much the leader of our national boxing team that will be going into the next Summer Olympics. And so we want to, of course, give her due here, and we want to show her on the screen as well so that you can get a look at another Canadian who has made it indeed. And there we put that up for you. Meanwhile, thank you to Kit Linda M for a gentle correction. The world, this is really insisting on putting ads in front, eh? So this is Victoria Madeleine Penny looking fierce, as you should if you're a boxer. Kit Linda M, who gave me a gentle correction on the Friday show when I was the World Cup of Rugby. I had mistakenly stated that I had mistakenly stated that Canada was in the semifinal playing against Australia. It was the quarterfinal match, which Team Canada did win. So they have advanced now to the semifinal in that tournament. And the tournament in which Canada was already in the semifinal was the Pacific Nations Cup, where our men are competing. And in that competition, the men semifinal was against Team Fiji. And that was scheduled, and unfortunately, Team Canada lost that one 63-10. So they will be playing for the bronze against Tonga at the Pacific Nations Cup. Whereas in the Women's World Cup, well, Team Canada, big test ahead. Team Canada is ranked number 2 in the world, but they will be taking on the New Zealand All Blacks, legendary team. So that will definitely be a big match. And in the other semifinal, Team France is playing England, and that match for Team Canada will be played on the 19th. And we will definitely keep our eyes peeled for that, so that we can cheer for Team. All right, kids and cubs, that's all I got for you today. I hope that you enjoyed this, because I enjoyed putting this together for you. I know, let me put it this way. Despite the fact that we had to hear Pierre Poilièvre speak for about 10 minutes total during the course of the show, I'm still hope that you were able to enjoy the show regardless. I know it's a test. I see it in the chat. Oh my God, I can't hear him anymore. I'm going to turn down the volume until he comes back. I would ask that you not, because I do believe it's important to hear what other people say. But then again, considering the amount of nasally Pierre I listen to, so you don't have to, I also perfectly understand why you would, and won't hold it against you, because, well, if I wasn't doing a politics related show, I too probably would shut down my volume every time he speaks, to be totally honest, even though I do believe we need to hear what they say. He's a little much for me too. So I get it. I understand. It's all good. I don't take it personally. He is annoying as fuck. I will agree. Kids and cubs, remember, sharing is caring. So please tell your peeps and poops all about us. We love it when you share our content and include a little word about us when you do. And I want to give a big shout out to my good friend, Kit Hugh, who had some very, very nice things to say about me personally. And, all I can say is, my friend, anytime, anywhere, any place for you. I love you. It's real, and I always have your back. So, uh, but that you would say so publicly um, warms my heart and gives me a glow. And I don't expect you to do anything of that, and that's not why I do it. But it's that you would say it really touches me deeply. I know you think it because you've told me, but there's saying it to me, and then they're saying it publicly, and I am I am just so blessed to have you in my life and to have a friend like you. And there's plenty more where that came from, my friend. There's plenty more where that came from. That's all I'll say. But you've made my heart and my soul very happy, and I thank you. So yes, sharing is caring. Share our content. We really appreciate it. If you are on the go and you would like to keep in touch with what's going on in the world, and you don't have time to watch the show, don't worry. We're here to help. Thanks to the Ray Girl. She has sponsored our pod page, podpage.com/the True North Eager Beavers, where you go to, and you can scan that QR code if you're watching to bring you there. And if you go there and click subscribe when we have something fresh off the podcast bandwidth, it comes directly to you. You can just put us in your ears. We're portable, and take us with you. We're lightweight. We won't weigh you down at all. And that way you can get on with your day in terms of making the world a better place or making life better for your family, and still keep abreast with what's going on in the political world. So thank you so much for downloading us. Now, if you'd like to help us in other ways, then you need to heed the call of Kits Cassie and Kit Elaine, who ask you to surf on down to the True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube page, where, again, you can play with our buttons, like and share and subscribe, as over 23,300 of you have already. Thank you so very much for all of you who are joining over the last after the last little bit. Really appreciate our numbers growing, and thank you. We couldn't do this without you, so we are very grateful for your support. And kits and cubs, if you would like to support us in other ways, we do incur some costs to bring this show to you, and we would really appreciate your help in order to be able to cover them. We would love for this to be the first year that we actually break even, at least, and we could definitely, but we need your help to do that. So whether you are donating via Super Chat on our YouTube page, buying a membership, or you can make your contribution via our coffee page, and that QR code that has just appeared will bring you there. Coffee, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, all in one word. And there you can drop a couple of loonies and toonies into our tip jar that we affectionately call the Emergency Hydration Fund, because, a moist beaver is a happy beaver, and we all need to do our bit to keep our favorite beavers moist. Yum, 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 yum. So thank you for all that you do to help keep the show going. We really do appreciate it. Now, if you're buying Canadian, well, then we also have a solution for you. TrueNorthEagerBeaver@gmail.com is our email address. Send us a direct transfer there, and that way your transaction's 100% Canadian. You avoid the USC tech bros who take a cut and then give it to Donald Trump to do whatever he does, and we get 100% of your contribution. So that's win-win-win. It's a good way to make a donation, because when we get 100% of your donation, well, it goes further in helping us bring this news to you. Kits and cubs, because democracy is something that you do. We have provincial elections coming up in Newfoundland and Labrador. We have a territorial election coming up in Yukon, so please get familiar with your candidates. We're going to have an NDP leadership race coming on, so it might be time for you to buy your memberships, and please do, even if you are not an NDP voter typically, buy your membership, because if you, come election time, want to have the best possible slate of candidates to vote for, then the party is where it's at. That's where the action is. You gotta get your party membership and vote in that one. That's where you do the quality control. So NDP is up next. I'm going to be buying mine. I'm hoping that the Green leadership will be delayed until sometime a little later, so that my NDP membership could lapse, and then I can get a Green membership and vote for that one too when the time comes. And it looks like in Ontario, I'm going to have to try to successfully this time get a membership for the Ontario Liberal Party, because last time it didn't go through, so that I will be able to vote for the new leader of the Ontario Liberal Party when that opportunity arises. And in other provinces where you might be having a change of leader soon, there's that opportunity for you. Please do get involved at that stage. Like I said, that's where the real quality control happens, and that's where your vote goes further, because fewer people vote in these races. So your vote has more weight and more power when you participate at these levels. So please do what you need to do in order to practice democracy. Also, remember, forever-canadian.ca, that's out there. So please make sure that you sign the petition. So I'm not sure if it's a petition anymore or what it is it's called, but whatever it is, that you join the campaign and put your signature therein to make sure that the Citizens Initiative question about Alberta remaining in Canada is the one that goes on the ballot. 294,000 signatures about are needed, hoping for more than that, so Danielle can't play with the numbers. And forever-canadian.ca is where you go to find out where there will be pop-up locations. There might be some people where you are who are organizing to come to you if you are mobility impaired, so you can find out about that. You can register to be a canvasser, particularly if you live in an apartment building. That would help a lot, because there's a lot of people in the building and you can get a lot of signatures in one shot, and all the signatures need to be witnessed. So we do need canvassers. And of course, if you would like to contribute some money to the organization, because it does take some money, in order to be able to organize to collect all these signatures, and that would certainly be welcome. All right. Let's see. What do we have here? Words of wisdom, kids and cubs. I am going to say um, words of wisdom inspired both by Pierre and Bonnie Crombie. Um, know when you're beat. Take a hint. Sometimes in life, listen, I'm all for perseverance. And I'm for not giving up and and keeping on trying and holding tight to your dreams and doing what you mean, doing what you can to make them happen. But there do come sometimes where you need to face reality and realize it's not going to happen for you. For example, when I realized I stopped growing at 5'6", came. It took me a couple of years, but I had to begrudgingly accept that my career as a runway fashion model was probably not going to happen. Because if you're a guy, you probably need to be around 6'1" at least, minimum, to sort of be considered. So, I figured I knew how to move my body because I was a dancer, and I loved being on stage. So why not? I'll be a runway model until I realized that, well, they only make clothes for a couple of sizes at the time where you're a runway model. And unless I was so spectacularly gifted that someone would want me specifically as their muse, nobody was going to make clothes for someone who's 5'6" on the first offing at that stage before we get to mass production. And therefore, my career was probably not going to happen. So every now and then, when you realize it's not going to happen for you, d- uh, accept and move on graciously. Now, I'm saying this not wishing that there's anything for you that you really want to happen that's not going to happen for you. I'm just saying, should one day you come to the realization, from my cold, dead hands is sometimes not always the best position. I'll just put it that way. All right. Of course, I'm playing here. We're having a little fun here today. But yes, kids and cubs, it could be a tough world out there. So please be kind to and gentle with yourself. And now, at the count of 3, if I may, could you please say, Mr. Beaver, please cue the cock on 1, 2, and 3. There it is, my lovelies. How can I deny what you ask for when you ask so nicely? Here you go. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music. All right, kids and cubs, before we go, just a couple of things. Unfortunately, we lost 2 high-profile Canadians for whom a lot of people had affection recently. The first is Beverly Thompson, newscaster. Unfortunately, died at the age of 61 after a cancer battle. She was a longtime anchor and local reporter with CTV. Beloved, I think, by many, had a excellent reputation for being a wonderful person. She was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2002 and became active in breast cancer fundraising and awareness in that time. And According to Richard Gray, who's the vice president of news at Bell Media, he says Bev Thompson was a trusted voice to Canadians and a valued teammate to all of us at CTV News. Bev's natural on-air style created an immediate connection with viewers. For decades, she also made a significant impact across the country with her vocal support and advocacy for cancer charities. Bev will be dearly missed by all of us at CTV News. We extend our deepest condolences to her family and loved ones. She was presented with the Lifetime Achievement Award by Radio Television Digital News Association of Canada in 2024. And the president of that organization, Liz Travers, said, Beverly Thompson is one of Canada's most respected news personalities. As a former anchor at CFTO Global News and most recently CTV News Channel, Thompson has been bringing the news to Canadians for more than 30 years. Leslie Roberts, journalist who was on with her when she was at Global First at 5:30, said, thinking of the family of Beverly Thompson, solid news anchor, mother and friend. As my first Toronto co-anchor, she always had my back. No one better to have as a work wife. Bev bravely fought breast cancer for over 2 decades. She died this morning at age 61. Rest well, Bev. And there's a TED Talk with her as well, 2015 TED Talk that you might want to tune into and take a look if you have fond memories of her. But everyone that she worked with pretty much adored her, and like I said, was beloved by Canadians. And so, yeah, it's sad to lose her. And of course, our condolences go out to friends, family, former colleagues, all those who loved her, and all those who have been touched by the work that she has done, either in news media or for raising to the cause of breast cancer. The other person that we need to mention is Rick Davies, the co-founder and frontman of a British rock band. Oh, it's a British rock band, Supertramp. Sorry, I do not know why. I always thought that Supertramp was Canadian. I'm just finding out that they're not. That's terrible. Oh, okay. Or maybe Supertramp is Canadian and he's just British. Well, anyway, you know what? I loved Supertramp. So whether he's Canadian or not, we'll just mention it. Rick Davies, keyboardist and singer whose ad in a British music paper sparked the formation of Supertramp, was one of the most commercially successful bands of the 1970s and 80s. He died when he was at 81, co-writer along with partner Roger Hodgson. He was the voice and pianist behind Supertramp's most iconic songs, leaving an indelible mark on rock music history. His soulful vocals and unmistakable touch on the Wurlitzer became the heartbeat of the band's sound. So there you go. Yeah. Wow, that's really weird. I grew up my entire life thinking that Supertramp was a Canadian band. I don't know why. And congratulations goes out to oh God, Catherine O'Hara, who was nominated twice for an Emmy Award in 2 different categories. Did not win, unfortunately, but a project with which she is associated did win big, and so did Canadian Seth Rogen. He won 4 Emmy Awards last night, including for acting, directing, and writing for his show, The Studio, which set a record for winning 19, I think, Emmys total, if you consider the technical awards that happen. But this is a new show that has really taken off, and hard to believe that Seth Rogen, he says, acceptance speech that he had never won anything yet in all the time that he's been a public figure in this sense. And now he has 4 Emmys to his credit. So Yeah, more Canadians who are making us proud. And there we go, kids and cubs. That's all I got for you today. So, amour et bisous. And we will see you tomorrow. And now, like magic, I must vanish.